Chapter 218. Crane thought about it carefully, then shook his head. Nope. Which strong martial artist would visit Corvus constellation? Xiaoyu was silent for a while. Your battle with them, I will freely choose whether to take action or watch. A figure appeared in the middle of the hall. That tall and big figure entered his vision, causing Guodong's heart to tremble. The figure in front of him had countless of fine black feathers floating in the air. Tang Tian. Guodong laughed at himself. A newcomer who cannot be any more new has never even entered the waiting list before. I don't know where he came from. Hearing that, Xiaoyu knew it was not a simple matter. So it was like that. Tang Tian's face was suddenly enlightened and immediately asked seriously, is there no other taboo or things that I need to take note of? Xiaoyu had already calmed down. Everyone is tempted by saint treasures, but I am not someone that I can enjoy. No matter how small crater constellation is, it is still a constellation. To obtain a constellation saint treasure is not a lucky thing. To Xiaoyu and the rest, saint treasures were not bad but too good, to the point of being far away, to the point that they did not dare to think about it. All right. Xiaoyu happily agreed, walking in front of Guiyu, his finger suddenly congealing a drop of blood. Inside the drop of blood, an extremely small black feather floated inside. The current Guodong did not have any of the legendary Fire Crow executioner's elegance. His expression was haggard, his beard unshaven, his fiery red eyes were currently dim. It was as though in a night he had aged 10 years. Because there were too few saint treasures. Humans die for wealth, birds die for food. Guodong laughed bitterly. It was not only me. Blind cord old man also appeared. I have my own selfish motives. Guodong said honestly. Tang Tian and his group are strong, and with the help of the Xie family, naturally they have the biggest hope. Blind cord old man came prepared. His mute servant also has the strength of a substitute. Xiao Yu and I are injured. If not for Brother Xia's help, we would have to return with broken wings. That is a benefit. This time I lost to them. I am not convinced. It is hard to swallow. That is anger. So I came to find Brother Xia. This matter is beneficial to Brother Xia. I think Brother Xia will not mind having 1 or 2 more treasures. The handsome Crane was at a loss. In the sect he had always lived a life where food and clothing were taken care of, but now... Brother Xia, have you not seen the latest issue of Immortal Martial News? Guodong's expression became even more bitter. No problem. Guodong straightforwardly nodded. When he thought of Tang Tian, killing intent flashed in his eyes as he said, I've always wanted to take revenge for this. Guodong laughed. We will let blind cord old man take the lead. I don't know. The martial technique was similar to the Honorable Martial Alliance's Fire Scythe Ghost Claw, but its power was stronger. Guodong sighed and said, he is very wealthy. He has treasures and armor. Really? Tang Tian didn't give up. Very good. Tang Tian raised his head in satisfaction and waved his hand. All right, you can go to work now. I don't have anything valuable on me. The only thing that Brother Xia is interested in is the secret of the demon sealing sword. Guodong said. Guodong was very clear of Xiaoyu's strength. Xiaoyu's strength was definitely much stronger than his ranking. Xiaoyu had always been in seclusion and the outside world did not know much about his strength. Tang Tian raised his fist and encouraged, young Crane, do your best. Of course I will. Tang Tian said with a matter-of-fact face. We have a coachman, you can learn from him. Young man, I will teach you the Crane body energy without any discount. You can't be lazy at work. Crane was dumbstruck. After a while he said blankly, I don't know how to drive. Sire, please enter. The patriarch has been waiting for you. The guard slowly pushed open the heavy bronze door. The bronze door rumbled as it opened. Xiaoyu pointed to the dense black feathers on his chest and looked at Guodong calmly. This time I am here to ask for a drop of black feather blood from Brother Xia. Guodong said seriously. When the black feather blood entered Guiyu's mouth, a layer of black mist immediately appeared on Guiyu's body. No. Crane nodded his head with certainty. But as the strongest treasure of a constellation, the saint treasure would have many unique points. Therefore, once a saint treasure appeared, there would definitely be a storm of blood. Crane did not expect Tang Tian's face to change so quickly and was startled. Work? Before he left the courtyard, Xie Qing rushed over anxiously. His expression was terrible. When he saw Tang Tian, he immediately said, Sir, bad news. This is bad. Xiaoyu was taken aback. It's not that I can't bear to part with the black feather blood. I also know that Brother Gu is giving it to this little friend. However, Brother Gu should consider this carefully. With my current appearance, it will be difficult for me to go out in the future. Guodong was pale, carrying the unconscious Guiyu on his shoulder. 88 saint treasures. How many dust puppets were left in history? No one knew how many saint treasures were left. The two looked at each other and smiled. But, in the series of immortal constellation star treasures, it would always be the strongest. It dropped from the gold rank to the silver rank, and all the secret treasures of the Brilliance Immortal sect were weakened. Xiaoyu was right, heaven's road was vast, there were countless of stars, but there were only 88 constellations and every constellation only had one saint treasure. The power of the saint treasure might not be stronger than the treasures of other constellations. For example, the immortal crown in Jia Shengguan's hands was only at the silver rank. That's right. Guodong nodded his head. There is a small sword village near my village called the Xia family sword village. They are the guardian of this sword. I accidentally found out that the demon sealing sword is at the stone sword peak behind the Xia family sword village. I went there countless of times but I did not find anything. Initially, I did not intend to take action, but I did not expect that blind cord old man would get the news from somewhere and actually found me. I had no choice but to reveal myself, but I met Tang Tian and his gang and suffered a huge loss. Broad forehead, thick eyebrows, square face. He turned his body. Although it was not the first time he saw Xiaoyu's body, Guodong's heart still jumped. Thick black feathers covered his chest, making him look like a birdman. The black feathers all over his body flew out from the thick black feathers on his chest and floated in the air. Demon sealing sword. Xiaoyu, who had maintained his calm all along, opened his eyes wide. Is that the giant baron demon sealing sword? That's right, aren't you paying with work? From today onwards, food supplies, cleaning up, meals as well as driving on the road as well as safety issues, will all be handed over to you. Tang Tian said seriously, you must remember with great power comes great responsibility. Don't be lazy. Blind cord old man. Xiaoyu's pupils constricted. Small matter not worth mentioning. Xiaoyu waved his hand not caring. With that he swaggered off. After all, he had an additional dantian. The crane dantian was much bigger than his own 6th level dantian pool, 3 times the size of his 6th level dantian pool. Guodong bit his lips, a look of pain flashed past his eyes. I can't just watch him die. Thank you, Brother Xia. Guodong cupped his fists in gratitude. I need about 20 days and your nephew will wake up. Xiaoyu said. He slowly walked into the hall. What's his background? Xiaoyu did not dare to belittle him. Hearing that, Xiaoyu was moved. He looked at Guodong. Brother Gu, this time, seems like you're here to persuade me. Can only be used once every 15 days? Tang Tian was slightly disappointed, but after thinking about it he was satisfied. About 15 days. Crane carefully recalled, if I did not remember wrongly. If that's the case, that means it can only be used once every 15 days. Although it looks like a dantian, but in truth it is still a treasure. The current crater constellation is so dim that it seems to have no signs of life. The power of the demon sealing sword is hard to say. This is one of the reasons. Guodong said, since Brother Xia knows about the demon sealing sword, you should know in the past there were countless treasures sealed by the demon sealing sword, of which there were no lack of high-quality treasures. All these treasures disappeared along with the demon sealing sword. If Brother Xia feels that the demon sealing sword is not practical, but these treasures, if you can get 1 or 2, it will be worth it. Xiaoyu, ranked 9915 on the Heaven's Road list, was 13 ranks higher than Guodong. The strength of a saint treasure was related to the strength of a constellation. Xiaoyu quickly regained his composure. Could it be that Brother Gu is rising because of the sword? How is it different? Crane heard and said, the Heavenly Light Pellet Crane is a treasure of the Heavenly Crane constellation. Its use is to be able to open up an existence similar to a dantian. You can call it the crane dantian. You should be able to feel its existence, but the way it works is different from the dantian. Brother Xia is truly knowledgeable. Guodong nodded. The crater constellation is the dimmest constellation and very few people know about it, and its strongest treasure is also not known by many. Demon sealing sword, gold rank, crater constellation saint treasure. That was already comparable to an ordinary 7th level martial artist. This time I stumbled. Guodong's voice was like a leak, his face revealing a bitter smile. That also meant Tang Tian's current true power was immediately raised to 4 times of what it was before. He suddenly felt that the next 3 years of his life was a patch of darkness. Brother Guo was careless, Xiaoyu said softly. Although the replenishment was slow, upon thinking about the surging true power, Tang Tian was secretly pleased. It is equivalent to a dantian and using it is no different. But it is unable to expand. Other than that, once the true power in the crane dantian is depleted, its replenishment is extremely slow. It is unable to replenish through the meridians and can only replenish itself. This process is extremely slow. Crane explained. Xiaoyu shook his head. I have not paid attention to the immortal martial news for a long time. Don't tell me there are some powerful newcomers recently? Xiaoyu made up his mind and laughed heartily. Then I will listen to Brother Guo's commands. Early in the morning, Tang Tian ran over to find Crane and asked about the heavenly light pellet crane. The other party turned and saw Guodong's appearance and his face revealed a look of shock. Brother Guo, why are you like this? Honorable martial alliance, treasure weapon, armor, all these 3 points meant that the newcomer who suddenly appeared was not simple. All 3 points gathered on one person without even thinking it was a huge problem. How slow? Tang Tian immediately asked. Who is the opponent? Xiaoyu's expression congealed. To be able to cause Guodong to be in such a difficult situation, it was definitely someone stronger than Guodong, and was definitely a martial artist ranked above 200. Chapter 219. Other than moving, I'm afraid there's no other way. Bing said calmly. He was not anxious. To him, whether Xia Qing and the rest moved or not was the Xia family's problem. He only needed to ensure Tang Tian's safety. Xia Qing did not say a word. 100,000. Blind cord old man who was sitting on the wheelchair pulled his bow from time to control the stone gravel beasts. He slowly opened his mouth, his hoarse and low voice floating in the air. Under the sunlight, his arms were like a forest. The lady in black looked at blind cord old man in awe. She felt fear and respect towards this blind old man. Crane glanced at Tang Tian, his heart was surprised. Just when everyone was prepared to give up at their wits' end, this guy who did not seem to be very smart actually saw the opportunity. Then we just need to kill 26 stone gravel beast kings. Tang Tian raised his arms and shouted. Magic flute is here. Tang Tian cheered. Everyone's face was filled with hope. The last time it was Magic Flute's flute sound that scared Blind Cord Old Man away. Blind Cord Old Man's crazy actions made her feel respect, but also extremely puzzled. Xia Qing's face was ashen, his voice trembling. At least 100,000 stone gravel beasts. No one cared about him. I know what you mean, but you don't have to worry. Blind Cord Old Man's face suddenly exposed a cold smile. The opponent is a sound-type martial artist. If we talk about sound-type martial techniques, his strength is above mine. I am very impressed. Do you still remember what I said that day? The flute sound is perfect, but it cannot cover up his weak point of lacking qi. If I am not wrong, the opponent must have suffered heavy injuries and has not fully recovered. Blind Cord Old Man had the pearl of wisdom in his hands and sneered. Without enough true power, all martial techniques are like castles in the air. Sound-type martial techniques are no exception. I will not compete with him in techniques, I will compete with him in true power. With so many stone gravel beasts, let's see how he fights with me. Tang Tian immediately made a face at Ling Su happily. The stone gravel beasts in front of him could not see the end, they were densely packed like a tide. The speed of the stone gravel beasts was not fast, but with so many stone gravel beasts slowly advancing, it was truly terrifying. Everyone was shocked by Tang Tian's reason. Tang Tian muttered to himself that Uncle D was angry. They had the Pegasus silver carriage, so it was very easy for them to leave. Although these stone gravel beasts looked scary, their speed was not fast. If they wanted to escape, these stone gravel beasts would not be able to catch up. At this moment, the black-clothed woman finally came to a realization. Ling Su wanted to continue mocking Tang Tian, but out of everyone's expectations, Bing suddenly opened his mouth to support. What he said makes sense. We have fewer people, but we also have an advantage in numbers. Bing's support made Tang Tian feel encouraged, his spirit roused. He counted with his fingers. We can be more flexible. Uncle Bing, Ling Su, Crane, Xia Qing and me, the 5 of us on average, each of us can kill 5 stone gravel beast kings. Magic Flute, who had specially rushed back, upon seeing the stone gravel beasts that covered the entire mountain, his face changed. What she did not expect was that the blind-cord old man would use the same tactic. Only this time he found even more stone gravel beasts. Their luck was better, the number of stone gravel beasts in the area was surprisingly high, and under the guidance of the stone gravel beast kings, they had gathered all the stone gravel beasts in a radius of a few thousand li. Magic Flute was taken aback. But since Tang Tian asked, he explained in detail. Normally, if the numbers are small, we can directly use sound-type martial techniques. If the numbers are large, then we can choose a few leaders and let these leaders control the star spirit beasts below. The larger the number of star spirit beasts controlled, the higher the requirement for true power. Tang Tian started counting, 1, 2, 3. Everyone's face became even paler. Furthermore, if the blind-cord old man could control the stone gravel beasts, then Magic Flute could too. Everyone who had been oppressed for a long time saw the light of victory. Their morale was high. Hearing Tang Tian's shout, everyone raised their arms and shouted. The lady in black suddenly thought of the previous encounter. Her Lyra treasury had disappeared, and that made her angry for a long time. The stone gravel beasts were not strong, and none of them were afraid. Even if the stone gravel beast kings were here, they would not be afraid. If it was just once, it could be said that it was luck. But it had happened so many times, and they still thought that Tang Tian was lucky. Bing would not make such a stupid mistake. True power is weak. The lady in black was stunned. She did not hear it at all. Magic Flute's smile was cold. He will know soon. This is playing with fire. After hearing Magic Flute's analysis, everyone's spirits were roused. Killing 5 stone gravel beast kings would cause the opponent to be in chaos, which meant that everyone only needed to kill 1 stone gravel beast king. Killing 10, the army would collapse, which meant that everyone had to kill 2 stone gravel beast kings. But don't you think 26 compared to 100,000 is much less? Tang Tian looked at everyone in confusion. The target was suddenly pulled from being out of reach to within reach. Everyone was stunned. They were all shocked by Tang Tian's crazy idea. Yes. Magic Flute nodded. If you look carefully at these stone gravel beasts, you will realize they are actually separated into groups. Every group will have a stone gravel beast king to lead the other stone gravel beasts. This time you will fall in my hands. That's right, killing 26 stone gravel beast kings in a group of 100,000 stone gravel beasts was definitely not an easy task. But the difficulty of winning immediately dropped from completely impossible to not easy. It seemed like the difference was not big, but Bing knew the two were fundamentally different. This fellow, Tang Tian looked at the mountain of stone gravel beasts and exclaimed, "This fellow is crazy. No, there's no need for so many." Magic Flute interrupted Tang Tian's words. You guys kill 1 stone gravel beast king. If the opponent wants to control the army, it means that he has to directly control 4,000 stone gravel beasts. This pressure will cause his true power to quickly deplete. As long as there are more than 5 of them, this army will start to become chaotic. If you guys can kill 10 of them, this army will completely collapse and start to kill each other. Seeing Tang Tian's proud expression, he definitely did not have the demeanor of an expert, but Bing's heart did not feel the slightest bit weaker. This kind of situation had already happened more than once. 26 was much less than 100,000, but Bing's heart was secretly surprised. This fellow's observation was really sharp. Xianxia bit his lips tightly, his eyes flashing a trace of sadness. We are the guardians of the sword, we cannot leave. The reason why blind-cord old man could control so many stone gravel beasts was because of his sound martial technique, and the opponent also had an equally outstanding sound martial artist. From the previous exchange, blind-cord old man did not seem to have the upper hand. His heart could not help but shiver. To be able to fight his way into the Heaven Road list, he was definitely not a weakling. Magic Flute was also stunned. He subconsciously said, "Absolutely impossible." The last time when the stone gravel beasts attacked the village, compared to the scene in front of him, it was simply insignificant. Ah, not bad. You remember it very clearly. Blind-cord old man laughed out loud. Weapons is a battle. In a battle, naturally we have to find the opponent's weakness. My attainments in sound martial techniques is indeed not as good as him, but he is not without weaknesses. That day when I listened attentively, the opponent's sound martial technique could be said to be perfect, but his chi was insufficient, which also meant his true power was very weak. The only thing worth rejoicing was Xianxia and the rest had discovered the situation early. According to the advancing speed of the stone gravel beasts, they would need roughly another 10 days to reach the Xia Sword village. Only Tang Tian was acting normally, the rest of the people's faces were extremely ugly. Regardless if it was Ling Su or Crane, looking at the endless number of stone gravel beasts, their faces were extremely ugly. Even Bing, who had killed his way through the era of large armies, was silent. No one knew better than him when the number of cannon fodder reached a certain level, it was enough to crush everything. After the previous loss, she had already lost confidence in her own battle tactics. In front of an expert, those stone gravel beasts were like paper, they were completely useless. Was it a coincidence? But 100,000. But very quickly Tang Tian became muddle-headed. Where did I count to? Under everyone's expectant gazes, Magic Flute shook his head. The opponent saw through me that I have not recovered, and that my true power is not enough. He is aiming for that. Ling Su mocked. Hey crazy young man, why did you stop your treatment? Idiot. To kill 26 stone gravel beast kings in a group of 100,000 stone gravel beasts. Are you tired of living? Crane's thoughts were interrupted. Looking closely, it was Tang Tian who was excitedly raising his arms and shouting. Well done, young man Crane. Tang Tian was immediately roused. That also means there are 26 stone gravel beast kings. Uncle Flute, if we kill these 26 stone gravel beast kings, can he still control so many stone gravel beasts? Let's think of a way to retreat. Bing suddenly said, we still have time, let's leave this place. Crane suddenly said, there are a total of 26 groups. This terrifying number immediately caused everyone to feel suffocated and despair. 100,000 stone gravel beasts was enough to wipe out the entire planet. There was definitely no sword village that could stop this flood. Magic Flute's explanation caused everyone to become silent again. If you don't leave, all of you will die. Bing hit the nail on the head. Bing, who had rich experience in large-scale battles, was the first to realize the feasibility of Tang Tian's plan. The lady in black carefully said, you said that because of this flute song, we will not move our weapons today. No one said anything, but it was obvious. Everyone felt that the idea was preposterous. Tang Tian's voice suddenly sounded out. Uncle Flute, how do you all control so many stone gravel beasts? Saying the last sentence, a fierce chi rushed towards them. Victory. Compared to them, their strength was too weak. Victory. Tang Tian was enlightened. I understand stone gravel beast kings. The lady in black thought about the flute song and could not help but say, Master, if the sound-type martial artist comes again. But Tang Tian. Chapter 220. These people did not expect that someone would actually dare to follow them. Sai Lei combed the bangs on her forehead. This action made the already beautiful Sai Lei even more alluring. Then when will your esteemed boss come? Playboy teased. The few of them argued until their faces were red. Sai Lei's eyes flashed a look of disgust, but on her face she smiled. Young master's kind intentions, Sai Lei appreciates it, but Sai Lei is used to staying in Three Spirit City, and does not wish to go anywhere else. What surprised him was that the group of people actually walked out of the city with Tang Tian following them quietly. Uncle Feng, let them be quiet for a while. Playboy sneered. A bunch of flies, so noisy. What could be more perfect than having both a person and money? 500 million star coins might seem like a lot, but to Sai Lei it was not expensive at all. He needed to bring back Flamingo for Ling Su. Flamingo could increase Ling Su's fighting strength. Especially in such a battlefield, Flamingo was extremely important to Ling Su. The surroundings were dead silent. The atmosphere was extremely oppressive. Many people could not help but feel worried for Sai Lei. Anyone could tell Playboy was obviously enraged. Furthermore, he was not completely lusting after her beauty. If the other party was just a vase, no matter how perfect a vase was, it would definitely not be worth 500 million star coins. There's only one of them. Sai Lei had a look of helplessness. With my current ability, I am still unable to mass-produce first snow. Its materials are too expensive. Suddenly, Playboy laughed out loud. There was not a hint of anger on his face. Then let's do as I said before. I will book your shop for a year of mechanical weapons. Miss Sai Lei can name the price. This mechanical weapon is called First Snow. It uses the most advanced mechanical techniques, using precious materials, up to 160 types, borrowing from the ancient metal formula. It is initially set at the 6th level with 3 card slots. You can insert 3 6th level spirit cards. or 1/7 level spirit card. It is currently the most advanced mechanical weapon. Young master is always welcome. Sai Lei acted as though she did not understand. A sturdy man suddenly stepped out. The sturdy man's muscles bulged, his gaze cold. He raised his right leg and stomped heavily on the ground. The rest of them immediately revealed their anger. Boom. The muscular man called Uncle Feng was a little confused. Why didn't young master make a move today? Three Spirit City is such a small place, what kind of background can he have? Seeing the shocked expressions of the surrounding people, Playboy felt even more pleased. Without hesitation he said, "I'll buy it." Playboy said meaningfully, "I will come again after a period of time. I hope to meet your esteemed boss. Miss Sai Lei, please do not deceive this young master." This young master's temper is not too good. The area under the burly man's feet had completely caved in. Playboy turned around and his face darkened. "Let's go." Sai Lei smiled sweetly. "I'm sorry, this is confidential. Sai Lei has no right to disclose." Once the mechanical weapon appeared, it immediately caused a commotion and Playboy's eyes lit up. They were all people who frequently played with mechanical weapons, and with one look, they could tell that the mechanical weapon was not ordinary. Tang Tian's face darkened. He strode forward and squeezed through the crowd. "Uncle Feng, take it away." Playboy flicked his finger and a star coin card flew towards Sai Lei. "Covered? You think you can cover it?" The crowd suddenly gasped in unison. 500 million star coins. This astronomical number was like a bomb thrown into the crowd. The few people who were arguing with Playboy just now turned pale. To be able to take out 500 million star coins without even frowning, this was definitely an extremely powerful aristocratic family. Playboy waved his hand. "Miss Sai Lei, don't tell me you want me to return empty-handed today?" Playboy's face darkened. He stared at Sai Lei without saying a word. "Based on what?" "It belongs to whoever offers the highest price." Tang Tian was prepared to make a move at any time. Hearing that, Tang Tian blushed with shame. Thinking back, Sai Lei's request for research funding was only 2 million star coins per year. They could not even afford it. Now that someone else had made a move, the annual funding was more than 100 million. "Ah, Uncle Feng, you don't understand. This is what fun is." Playboy laughed out loud. Such a beautiful face, revealing despair and fear and then begging, "How beautiful is that?" Suddenly he frowned. There were sounds of argument coming from the front. A large group of people had gathered at the entrance of the card shop. Playboy had a card up his sleeve. "Miss Sai Lei, why don't you listen to my conditions first? As long as Miss Sai Lei is willing to leave, 500 million star coins. It's all yours now." The streets of Three Spirit City seemed to be more prosperous than before. Tang Tian walked along the street towards Sai Lei's card shop. "I came first. Of course it's mine." Sai Lei doesn't know about that. Sai Lei revealed an apologetic smile. Exclamations of surprise came out at the same time. Sai Lei laughed indifferently. "Thank you, young master, for your kindness. But Sai Lei has no intention of going anywhere else. I just want to manage this shop properly." The group of people then left. Flower Panda, who was beside Sai Lei, grabbed the star coin card. Sai Lei's smile became even more amiable. "Thank you for your patronage." The surroundings quietened down. Everyone looked at Sai Lei in disbelief. 500 million star coins. Sai Lei actually rejected it. When the crowd saw his formation, they immediately quietened down. Playboy's expression turned sluggish. His gaze congealed. Suddenly he chuckled. "Since it's like that, then I am willing to buy your shop. Miss Sai Lei, please state your price." "Miss Sai Lei, don't worry. Every year I will give Miss Sai Lei a research fund. It will definitely not be less than 100 million star coins. Miss Sai Lei can do whatever you want to do. You don't have to worry about the trivial matters." He looked at everyone with disdain. "Although it's not good for my identity to be revealed, Miss Sai Lei, don't worry. The Han family is not some small family. No, I want to see how capable this Sai Lei is." Playboy sneered. His face revealed a perverted smile. This young master's prey has never escaped from this young master's clutches. "Let us play slowly." The sturdy man jumped out of the hole as if nothing had happened. Playboy continued to sneer. "In the future, keep your eyes open. Don't seek your own death. If you don't have the fortune to enjoy the beautiful world, then you only have yourself to blame." "I'll buy it," Playboy said without hesitation. He didn't even ask about the price. Tang Tian first returned to Three Spirit City. Sai Lei said politely. I'm sorry. For such a huge matter, Sai Lei has no authority to decide. I need the boss to decide. Everyone felt the ground tremble. Many of them lost their balance and fell to the ground. At that moment, screams could be heard. The scene was a mess. Sai Lei said casually. Young master is late. Sai Lei has long been hired by others. After saying that, he didn't look at anyone else. Said he turned around. His eyes were burning with passion. Miss Sai Lei, Three Spirit City is such a broken place. What's there to be reluctant about? I have some businesses in Maidu City. If Miss Sai Lei is willing to move over, you can name your conditions. Heaven Road grade martial artist. Playboy's face was confident. He smiled at Sai Lei. Even gods would be tempted by the sum of 500 million star coins, let alone a woman. Chushua's martial spirit was much weaker than Sky Tiger's. This mechanical weapon requires 20 million star coins. Sai Lei seemed to hesitate for a while before saying, Sai. Another wave of cold air was sucked in. Why? And those who were clamoring had their faces pale. They kept quiet out of fear. Playboy revealed a pleased look. Whoever doesn't know what's good for them. Don't blame me for being impolite. From today onwards, all the mechanical weapons in this shop will be mine. What's with the ruckus? Open your eyes and take a good look. Who are you fighting with? Are all of you tired of living? The one who spoke was Playboy. He had an arrogant look on his face. His clothes were not ordinary. He was surrounded by a group of swift and fierce guards. A cold intent flashed past Sai Lei's eyes. Her face was smiling like a flower. Why would I? Sai Lei has just completed a piece of work. This is the most outstanding mechanical weapon that Sai Lei has ever completed. Playboy exited the city. He said in a deep voice. Uncle Feng. Send people to watch. I want to see who is behind Sai Lei. It would be best if there is someone capable. If there isn't, he. You dare to play tricks in front of me. You're asking for death. He had dealt with countless women. He had long been a playboy. He had never met a woman that he could not throw money at. What he meant was that he did not throw enough money at her. But Sai Lei's attainments in mechanical weapons were definitely worth 500 million star coins. When Tang Tian heard that, the killing intent in his heart could not be suppressed. When he saw Sai Lei, he was shocked and had the idea of getting Sai Lei into his hands. Finished. She waved her hand at the three pandas. The three pandas understood. They immediately brought out a snow-white mechanical weapon. Someone is causing trouble again? Tang Tian thought. He took out the gorilla mask and followed them. He had a feeling that these people would not let this matter rest. He wanted to see where these people came from. Tang Tian stared at Chuxue for a long time. He understood. Chushua's design was more beautiful and exquisite than Sky Tiger. Even the number of card slots was the same. But Tang Tian could tell who was better with one look. Tang Tian was also stunned. 500 million star coins. Many star coins appeared in his mind. Playboy squinted his eyes. His gaze was as though he wanted to strip her naked. He had seen countless women. But he had never met a woman like Sai Lei. Her looks and temperament were perfect. Thinking about having such a high-quality woman in his pocket, his heart could not help but feel hot. But this woman was really a high-quality woman. Sai Lei's words were like flowers falling from the sky. The eyes of the crowd became brighter and brighter. He had coincidentally obtained a fierce soldier. He immediately realized the shocking value of this new mechanical technique. He had spent a lot of effort to find a shop that sold this new mechanical weapon. One set of mechanical weapon, 20 million star coins. Although those who played with mechanical weapons were not short of money, they were still stunned when they heard the number. The crowd exploded. Angry shouts could be heard. Playboy was finally unable to maintain his calm. His face darkened. He laughed coldly. I wonder which expert has such a good method. Miss Sai Lei, please tell us. Too troublesome. The sturdy man muttered. Chapter 221. The opponent's target was the young master. The other guards laughed out loud. Amu Duo was a famous female martial artist in the guards group. She was strong and was said to be in love with Qin Feng. Upon saying that, the young master suddenly reacted, his heart cursing. Playboy stared blankly at Tang Tian. His originally calm face suddenly revealed a shocked expression as though he had seen a ghost. How? How is that possible? The golden-haired young martial artist took the lead. The others did not dare delay and followed closely behind. Qin Feng suddenly bellowed, whoosh, a rock the size of a table suddenly flew out from the roadside. Its speed was extremely fast, bringing with it a biting cold whistling sound. Its target was the young master. Search. Tang Tian tilted his head and thought nodded. That is a good idea. Come, hand over the Aquarius martial cabinet first. Bang. He fell to the ground stiffly. The young master who gradually regained his senses, his vision slowly regained focus. The gorilla mask gradually became clear. The gorilla face on the mask was extremely coarse. In the eyes of the young master who was used to seeing all kinds of famous paintings at this moment, it was extremely sinister. Qin Feng resisted the urge to scold him. You're afraid? If you're afraid, you won't do such a thing. Bang. When the others heard, their faces changed. Stop. Oh, you're truly a straightforward person. Tang Tian opened his mouth like a lion. Then 1 billion star coins it is. Don't say you're young master, you can't even compare to 2 women. Qin Feng's face immediately changed. The young master's throat was tightly gripped by the opponent's 5 fingers. The opponent's fingers were like 5 steel claws, causing the young master to be unable to breathe. The opponent's arm was extended out, and the young master had no choice but to tiptoe. Qin Feng's face turned red, but he was not angry. This subordinate does not have young master's taste, it's better for women with more skin. After a full 15 seconds, Tang Tian then loosened his grip. Playboy's eyes turned white and he coughed violently. Tang Tian's current finger strength was extremely terrifying. After grinding 10,000 anvils, it was definitely not a waste of effort. Even without using true power, Tang Tian's 5 fingers could easily pierce through a 5 cm steel plate. And after using true power, piercing the steel plate was like piercing tofu. All of you shut up. Qin Feng was originally blocking in front of the young master, but at this moment he flew backwards towards the young master. When he realized that his bosom was empty and he had lost sight of the other party, his face immediately turned pale. However, the assailant was far more slippery than he had imagined. Qin Feng only felt a pain in his abdomen, and his knee strike suddenly became soft and powerless. Then the assailant's back was pressed against his chest. Sizzle. Qin Feng's roar was like thunder that swept across the entire place. All the guards were frightened and subconsciously shut their mouths. Qin Feng slowly crawled up from the ground. There were a few bloody holes on his chest that were still gushing with blood. However, Qin Feng didn't seem to care. His gaze was fixated on the mysterious masked man. It was a small silver bottle the size of a palm. Tang Tian's eyes lit up and he couldn't help but whistle. Yo, it's a high-class product. The young noble only saw Qin Feng blocking in front of him, shattering the rock with a single punch. However, he suddenly let out a groan and flew backwards. The young master's strength was not weak, but he had too little battle experience. Furthermore, he was indulging in debauchery every day, and his body had long been hollowed out. Seeing Qin Feng flying towards him, he immediately panicked. It was truly a high-class product. This silver bottle was called the Silver Aquarius Cabinet. It was one of the higher-grade treasures in the Aquarius constellation. Its capacity was much bigger than the Aquarius Martial Cabinet and was a small-scale warehouse. He trembled as he took out his own Aquarius Cabinet. A strange look flashed past Playboy's eyes. He cooperated and erased the Silver Aquarius Cabinet's imprint. But he didn't dare to anger the other party. He said in a deep voice, "Then what do you want to do to make you let my young master go?" Tang Tian checked it once. After confirming that there were no mistakes, he then left his imprint. What exactly happened? Mu Duo couldn't help but ask, didn't Qin Feng go with young master? If he didn't look carefully, he wouldn't have been able to discover these extremely small marks. Under Playboy's shocked gaze, Tang Tian opened the Silver Aquarius Cabinet. Qin Feng heaved a sigh of relief. It seemed like the other party was here for money. Not good. Offended. A hoarse and low voice came out from behind the mask. The star dollars offended me. Tell me I'm so strong but I'm so poor. Isn't that unreasonable? The gorilla mask in front of him entered his eyes. Young master's mind went blank. Young master is in trouble. Tang Tian's breathing suddenly became heavy. The golden-haired young man's expression turned cold. Young master's Silver Aquarius Cabinet's imprint has been erased. Tang Tian couldn't be bothered. He tightened his fingers. Playboy's eyeballs popped out. His expression was like a dying fish. How dare you? Actually dare. If it was up to him, only a woman who could tear tigers and leopards apart would be exciting enough. Seeking death. Qin Feng pretended to laugh bitterly. Friend, don't play with us. Who would carry $1 billion on them? That 500 million star dollars was just young master's probing words. Qin Feng's heart jumped. This despicable sneak attacker was actually attached to the back of the rock. Qin Feng also laughed out loud. Just at that moment his heart suddenly felt a sense of danger. Qin Feng's mind raced. Seems like young master's extravagance had attracted the other party's covetous eyes. Young master was completely stunned. Tang Tian happily received the silver Aquarius cabinet. Just as he was about to leave his imprint, the martial spirit in his body suddenly jumped. With a thought he used the martial spirit's light aura to look carefully. Immediately he realized that on the silver Aquarius cabinet, there was an extremely small mark. The rock immediately broke into pieces. Broken pieces flew everywhere. Qin Feng's body did not move an inch. It is very illogical. Qin Feng said against his will, the star dollars are easy to deal with. Friend, please put down my young master first. Young master's body is not good. If he is frightened, friend's star dollars will be gone. A strong burst of energy exploded. It was as though he was struck by a star spirit beast. His body was out of control and flew backwards. The other guards looked at the scene in front of them in a daze. Their minds were in a blank. What? Could it be that Uncle Feng Mrs. Amu duo? Young master teased. When young master heard that, he finally reacted. He immediately said, I was really just saying. If you don't believe me, you can search. An ominous glint surfaced in Qin Feng's eyes. It was not easy for him to be by the young master's side. Someone actually dared to sneak an attack on him. He was immediately enraged. With a shake of his shoulder, his tall and sturdy body suddenly appeared in front of the rock. The body of the silver Aquarius suddenly lit up with a faint light aura. It blocked Tang Tian's martial spirit silver flame. But the power of the silver martial spirit was quickly displayed. The light aura of the silver Aquarius became dimmer and dimmer. After 10 breaths of time, all the light aura of the silver Aquarius disappeared. The hoarse voice beside his ear was as cold as a blade. The tone was unquestionable. But the sneak attacker's reaction was faster than his. His 5 fingers were like claws. He clawed at Qin Feng's body. It was as though he was pierced by a few steel awls. His entire body's qi immediately dissipated. That was personally done by the clan elders. Be careful. Such a treacherous fellow. There was definitely something wrong. Tang Tian laughed coldly in his heart. He simply threw the silver Aquarius cabinet into the martial spirit silver flame. Everyone exclaimed. The silver Aquarius cabinet's imprint was erased. That was the worst outcome. Either young master was dead, or young master was captured. Whichever it was not a good thing. Qin Feng raised his knee. It was a standard knee strike. If this strike connected, the opponent would be crippled even if he did not die. Not good. The young master's eyes were filled with deep fear. He had never been so close to death as he was just now. The strong feeling of suffocation made him feel as though he was about to die. Friend. Qin Feng's heart tightened. He immediately said, We'll give it. The young martial artist's eyes were filled with anger. His golden hair was like a ball of fire. The other people's faces changed. Especially Amu Duo. His face was filled with worry. The rock's speed was as fast as lightning. Adding its huge body, the sound of the wind it brought was terrifying. Someone jeered, I wonder if Uncle Feng's skin is tough. In that moment, the faint connection between the silver Aquarius cabinet and the silver Aquarius cabinet had completely disappeared. The urgent alarm bell rang. The martial artists in the camp were all stunned. Their faces were filled with shock. But very quickly the entire camp was in chaos. Tang Tian's words were from the bottom of his heart. Friend, why don't you name a number? Qin Feng said. Qin Feng was experienced. After experiencing the initial chaos of being ambushed, he immediately knew the opponent's target. Move out. Star coins. Of course it's star coins. Tang Tian suppressed his voice and said, Just now you were willing to pay 500 million star coins for a woman. Tell me, how much is your master worth? Suddenly the golden-haired young man's face changed. Not good. All the marks on master's silver Aquarius cabinet have been erased. I am actually being controlled. Dang dang dang. Friend, how did we offend you? He he he. The masked man's laughter was extremely strange. There are so many of you. I'm so scared. All the wealth, power, beauty in the face of death was a joke and meaningless. His armor shone with a shocking light aura. He looked like a god of war. He held a battle axe in his hand. He bellowed, Amu duo mo lin gui hu xiao de xiao air. Qin Feng could not understand master's strange hobby. But he mumbled a few words, then shut his mouth. Although Sai Lei was beautiful, but to a martial arts fanatic like him, it was nothing. But Qin Feng's eyes blurred. A figure suddenly rushed into his embrace. I didn't. Playboy's eyes rolled around. For safety reasons, the silver Aquarius cabinet of the aristocratic families would usually be tampered with. If there was an accident, the family would be the first to know. Some of the silver Aquarius cabinet even had a tracking function. A young martial artist with a steely face appeared at the entrance of the camp. Erase the imprint. He did not care about the pain. From the corner of his eyes, he saw that master had fallen into the opponent's hands. A ball of light aura enveloped his fist. He threw a punch towards the rock. The guards panicked and roared. Immediately it was noisy. Everyone's face was filled with fear. If anything happened to master, no one here would be able to survive. This time even master could not help but laugh. Amu Duo was strong, but his temper was also extremely bad. In terms of the ranking of the guards, Amu Duo was above Qin Feng. A few figures with shocking momentum came from every corner of the camp and landed in front of the young martial artist. Chapter 222. The golden-haired martial artist's eyes flashed a cold aura. His entire body was like a cold sword being unsheathed. Mo Lin will escort young master back to the residence, the rest of you follow. Bing saw Tang Tian panting as he appeared in the recruit barracks and was curious. What are you doing here? Didn't you go get flamingo for Ling Su? Why did you come back? Amu Duo suddenly asked sternly, where's Qin Feng? Finished, he was the first to take out all the things he had on him. Very quickly the ground was filled with all sorts of things. These guards often had to survive in the wild, so all of them had large amounts of things on them. This concerned their young master's safety and no one dared to lie about it. After a while Bing reacted and cried out involuntarily, don't tell me you robbed a warehouse? The golden-haired martial artist's expression suddenly turned cold. Each of you guard one direction, seal off the scene, these people, no one is allowed to leave. Tang Tian's speed did not decrease, but increased and rushed into the town, causing a commotion. Without saying a word, Tang Tian rushed into the starry door. Rob. Bing looked at Tang Tian with a weird face. This is not like your style. Since when did you like to do business without any capital? The rest of them heaved a sigh of relief. No matter what, young master was fine, it was a blessing in disguise. The golden-haired martial artist looked at him indifferently. The battle axe in his hand suddenly waved. A dazzling gold light flew out of the axe, whistling towards the martial artist. Magic Flute also reacted and inhaled a cold breath. Even Qin Feng was dumbfounded and did not know what to say. The few of them agreed loudly without saying a word. They guarded every direction. All the guards looked at each other. Once it involved battles, money, treasures, Tang Tian's mind would become extremely good. He maintained a speed that was neither fast nor slow, just to lure them over. Under everyone's dumbstruck gaze, Tang Tian suddenly threw the young master Gu in his hands towards Qin Feng, and at the same time turned and ran. I lost him. Qin Feng's face turned green. Just as we reached this corner, he disappeared. Pauper. Search. The golden-haired martial artist shouted coldly. The young master fainted and Tang Tian could only see a small black dot. Blood rained down from the sky as the martial artist's body was split in half. Tang Tian did not bother and used his other hand to search young Master Ji's body again, and as expected he did not find anything. Seeing this, Tang Tian stared at the guards. Take out everything you have on you. If you leave even one item on you, then be careful of your young master's life. Everyone, it's time to show your loyalty. Tang Tian looked a little embarrassed, but soon his eyes lit up. He grabbed something that looked like a shield from the hill and said, "Look at this, it's glowing. It must be a treasure." But when they saw the pursuers behind Tang Tian, they immediately reacted. A pillar of blood soared into the sky and the martial artist fell to the ground. Tang Tian looked at the mountainous pile of items in the silver treasure chest, and his breathing almost stopped. Tang Tian then told the story of Sai Lei meeting with trouble, and how he followed the group and ambushed them. Then he passed through the star door and used the Southern Cross constellation cross door to escape. Finally, he said proudly, "They must still be wandering around Maple Forest Planet. And they must think that I'm a great thief of Maple Forest Planet. They would never think that Sai Lei is there." Bang! A minute later, the golden-haired martial artist and the rest rushed into the star door. Hot blood rushed to his head, but Tang Tian quickly calmed down. "Star coin card." Bing was surprised. "Why is your brain working so well when it comes to robbing?" Playboy's willpower had long crumbled. He took out a star coin card from his bosom. "It's all here. There's still 15 million star coins left." The golden-haired martial artist kept his battle axe. He ignored the blood on the ground and said coldly, "Why? Who needs to ask me why?" Bing's gaze landed on the shield in Tang Tian's hands. He was stunned. The golden-haired martial artist's ruthless and cruel actions immediately attracted dissatisfaction. A martial artist stood out with a gloomy face. "Why? Just because you have some strength, you dare to come to Maple Forest Planet to kill people?" Master Qin went to chase after the robbers. The guard immediately pointed to the direction where Qin Feng disappeared. "Over there. He just left not long ago." "And 500 million, Qin Feng clenched his teeth. "No one is allowed to stay. Throw them all out." No one was stupid. Tang Tian's speed and aura were definitely not ordinary. In a small place like Three Spirit City, a Heaven's Road grade martial artist would definitely be able to do whatever he wanted. Everyone's speed was extremely fast. Very quickly they saw Qin Feng's figure in the distance. And the robber who was running with his head lowered. The golden-haired martial artist and the rest were roused. Amu Duo even let out a long whistle. He dared to pick up girls even when he had no money. Tang Tian replied, then poured out everything in the silver Aquarius cabinet. "Robbery," Tang Tian said. No one moved. "Big business?" Bing's poker face immediately lit up. He immediately leaned over. "What big business?" With just a glance, Tang Tian saw a few sparkling things. The flowing light aura made it obvious that they were not ordinary items. The crowd was in an uproar. A brave martial artist stood out. "Who are you guys?" According to Bing's markings, there should be a star door in front. Tang Tian said, "I made a big deal." Qin Feng clenched his teeth and threw young master to another guard. "Look after young master." The fiery red blade aura was like a fiery python hissing as it rushed towards the golden axe aura. Magic Flute facepalmed. He could not bear to watch. As expected, not long later, a small town appeared in front of them. Tang Tian was roused. This small town was called Maple Forest Town. It was the Star Door town of Three Spirit City. The Star Door town was a small town that existed because of the Star Door. Maple Forest Town had a star door that led to the Maple Forest Planet. The fiery python immediately split into pieces. Countless sparks flew. The martial artist's face changed. He did not have time to react. The dazzling golden light aura pierced into his chest. His eyes twitched. From the small mountain he picked up a rusty cup. "Did you pick up a mountain of trash? This kind of thing, even if you throw it on the streets, no one will pick it up." Coming out from the other side of the star door, they saw Qin Feng with a terrible expression. The surrounding people looked at the group of people in fear. One look and they could tell that they were powerful. Adding that all of their faces were filled with killing intent, they could tell that they were not to be trifled with. "Idiots trying to use intelligence with this godlike young man. You will all die very quickly." Bang! A 10 m tall small mountain appeared in front of Bing and Magic Flute. Tang Tian noticed the people behind him. He did not panic. Behind his mask he revealed a pleased smile. To be able to defeat Master Qin Feng, he was at least a Heaven's Road grade martial artist. How did he end up like this? "I'm rich." He actually wanted to say, "Brother, how miserable are you exactly? At least you are a Heaven's Road grade." Others thought that he was panicking. But he was already prepared. Bing had been loitering around Three Spirits City for a long time. The surrounding star doors were all clear to him. The other people's eyes lit up. That's right. That was the most probable method. All the guards looked at Tang Tian as though they were looking at a monster. They had never seen such an ugly bandit. No matter how greedy a bandit was, he would not be able to be so picky. Even their toilet paper, fruit knives, teacups and other small items were not spared. The golden-haired martial artist's expression was cold. The surrounding people's faces were all pale. They kept quiet out of fear. No one dared to make a sound. Before he finished his sentence, he was like an arrow that left the bow, rushing out, chasing after Tang Tian's silhouette. Qin Feng stared at Tang Tian. He had been looking for an opportunity. But Tang Tian did not give him one. He said, "Friend, you've taken the silver Aquarius cabinet. You've also taken the star coin card. Put down our young master first. How about that?" Suddenly disappeared. The golden-haired martial artist snorted. Seems like this is his lair. He must be hiding somewhere. Qin Feng and the rest knew that their boss was truly angry. Tang Tian did not look. Since the silver Aquarius cabinet was huge, he threw everything in. But he quickly became excited. "Come and see. What good stuff did you get?" The martial artist's face darkened. A heavy blade appeared in his hand. With a roar, he slashed forward. Tang Tian completely did not know what they were thinking. He could faintly hear footsteps approaching him. Not a single blade of grass was left. The colorful ground was now empty. His gaze swept across the surroundings. His gaze was extremely sharp. Like a sword, it pierced through people's hearts. Everyone lowered their heads. No one dared to look him in the eye. Today that brat would not be able to escape even if he had wings. Tang Tian used a lot of strength in this smash, causing young Master Gu to scream out in fright and shut his eyes tightly. Qin Feng was afraid that he would hurt his young master. He immediately lowered his body and caught him. There was no doubt about the importance of the star door. Although there was not much activity between Maple Forest Planet and Three Spirits City, it was still a small town. Gui Fox said softly, "He must have taken off his mask and changed his clothes. He wants to blend into the crowd and slip away." Tang Tian cursed in his heart. The two of them were dumbstruck. The few of them were like wolves and tigers. They walked along the crowd and searched everyone. After 20 seconds, Qin Feng, who was following behind, entered the star door without saying a word. A dazzling golden light suddenly rushed into the martial artist's chest. "Wait a minute." Bing suddenly walked in front of Zhou Xian. He picked up a roll of toilet paper. He looked at Tang Tian weirdly. Why is there such a thing? Amu Duo did not wait for his orders. He rushed out first. Everyone else's faces were filled with killing intent. Today's matter would definitely cause an uproar. To them it was a huge humiliation. All of them were proud and arrogant. How could they endure such humiliation? Magic Flute, who did not interrupt, looked at Tang Tian with interest. Not long later, the golden-haired martial artist arrived. Seeing the unconscious young master, everyone's face changed. The golden-haired martial artist touched the young master's chest. His face relaxed. "He's fine. He's just a little frightened." But the few of them were filled with anger. Even if there were more people, they would not be afraid. Bang! At this moment, how could Qin Feng and the rest not understand Tang Tian's thoughts? Qin Feng anxiously shouted, "Stop him!" Qin Feng heard the whistle. He was roused. He replied with a whistle. Chapter 223. Magic Flute looked at the pile of items in front of Tang Tian and laughed out loud. Tang Tian and Magic Flute were dumbstruck. It was the first time they had heard of such an unimaginable treasure. "It depends on who is holding it." Bing quickly regained his composure and suddenly laughed. "But it suits you. The Blood Rush shield requires strong physical strength to be able to disperse the power of the enemy's attack into your entire body. Your body will be like a sponge, storing all the scattered power. As long as you store enough power, you will be able to release this power that is many times stronger than your body in an instant." Tang Tian immediately took out First Snow and said happily, "Ah, look, I got it back." Tang Tian happily walked into Sai Lei's card shop. Upon seeing Tang Tian, Sai Lei's eyes lit up. She shot forward and could not suppress her smile. "Today I did a big business." Immediately after, he lowered his voice and told her about his gains. Of course she could not help but exaggerate how heroic and extraordinary Tang Tian was, how decisive he was, how astute and deep foresight etc. Magic Flute praised, I never thought that the ancient era would be so rich and varied. Blades are not used for offense but for defense and shields are not used for defense but for offense. Doing the opposite brilliant. Exploding air ball. Bing's face surfaced a nostalgic smile. They were also very clear of their advantages, so their clothes were very thick, looking short and thick. Their lower body was extremely stable. Sometimes when we controlled the mechanical weapons to hit them they might not even budge. They were like a lump of metal, stupid and heavy. That one move was enough. Bing sneered, their shield defense technique is unparalleled. To say that water could not enter, that was not an exaggeration. They are called blade shield soldiers. The blades in their hands have two uses. One is defense. They developed a specialized blade defense style. It is hard to imagine. The blade defense style is very annoying, like a housefly. The other use is when the power erupts to launch an attack. The attacking techniques they were proficient in were very few, often only one or two. However, they had honed these two moves very skillfully and their power was very strong. Coupled with their explosive power, that power it was really nostalgic. The saber and shield soldier's saber light was not something that the heaven shower saber Wu Guang from before could compare to. There were also people who were even more sinister. Their killer moves were not sabers but shields. Later on they developed the shield bashing style, which was even more wretched. I met one. It was dangerous. I was always on guard against the knife in his hand. I didn't expect him to suddenly use his shield to hit me. But as more and more people used it, fewer people fell for it. Tang Tian was horrified by Bing's description. Tang Tian's smile froze on his face. Bing said that it was one of the things they hated the most in the past, and in Bing's evaluation, it was definitely a high evaluation. To be able to give Bing such a high evaluation, it was definitely not an ordinary thing, and Tang Tian still had this bit of knowledge. Bing continued, the blade shield soldiers of the Ophiuchus army are like balloons. Every time he took an enemy attack, it was like a balloon being hit by a ball of air. The more attacks he took, the more air accumulates in his body, and the more dangerous they become. They can give you a fatal blow anytime. Really, that explosive power is extremely scary. They can kill many martial artists who are stronger than them in one move. Do you know what nickname we gave them at that time? But in the blink of an eye, he forced a smile. At least 15 million star coins. Yes. Bing's mood was slightly down. He forced a smile. This was one of the things we hated the most in the past. It's a pity that no one knows about it now. Such a good thing mixed in with a pile of trash. It's really... Magic Flute was dumbstruck. Could it be that this fellow, did he really not have the awareness of being a robber? All these things were really stolen, and he actually scolded the person who was robbed for not being hardworking enough. But when he heard Tang Tian say that he had obtained a bunch of noble luxury goods, he grinded his teeth and laughed until he fell. Tang Tian did not understand. He immediately passed the shield in his hands to Bing. Bing lowered his head and carefully caressed the shield. Although the shield had experienced many years, it looked like there was only a layer of dust on it. Casually brushing away the dust, the light aura of the shield became even more gentle with a faint blood color. The shield did not have any strange patterns on it. It was shockingly simple. Slowly enjoy the scenery of Maple Forest Planet. Is this Blood Rush shield very powerful? Tang Tian came over. Instead, Magic Flute started to categorize it. How much is it worth? Tang Tian asked directly. The blade shield soldiers of the Ophiuchus army, the first requirement is to be strong. Born with godly strength, that is the most basic requirement. Little Tang Tang and that housefly cow are very suitable. Then do they rely on that move? Tang Tian could not help but ask. Oh. Bing's tone was gloomy. This is our nemesis in the past, the Ophiuchus army's blood rush shield. Finished, he angrily went into the martial god shrine to find Sai Lei again. In Tang Tian's mind, a short and fat round metal ball appeared, densely packed on the battlefield, and immediately blushed with shame. Sold a set of 20 million mechanical weapons, right? Tang Tian raised his eyebrows and said, I was outside at that time. Tang Tian did not understand. What's wrong? This asshole. This show-off. This playboy. Tang Tian was so angry that he scolded, all he thinks about is women. Humph, what aristocratic family in the hands of this trash, they will be finished sooner or later. Tang Tian looked at the blood rush shield in his hands and felt that it was interesting. Flustered and exasperated, Tang Tian turned to look at Bing. Bing waved his hand. There are quite a few spirit cards, but none of them are good stuff. I feel that you will not want them. The only thing that can be considered as a reward is probably the blood rush shield. Money. Magic Flute was stunned but quickly reacted and laughed involuntarily. If you say it's expensive and it's cheap. To the aristocrats, these things are simply priceless treasures. Look at this black robe. It's made from the highest quality black velvet, and is extremely precious. Any aristocratic disciple upon seeing it, would be palpitating with excitement. Look at this charm gem, the quality is relatively high, it's a rare pink color and it's extremely pure. If you attend any banquet, you will instantly become the center of attention, countless beautiful ladies will unknowingly surround you. How many people can resist such temptation? Bring it over for me to see. Bing's tone was slightly gloomy. Tang Tian's face turned green and red. Anyone would think that they had robbed a treasure trove, but in the end, they found out that it was a pile of scrap metal. This strong disparity made Tang Tian so angry that he almost vomited blood. In a blink of an eye, he picked up a pile of shiny things. Quick, look at these treasures. That's good stuff. Tang Tian did not understand. Then why do you say that it's cheap? Bing hesitantly looked at the pile of trash, hesitating whether to go forward or not. The streets of Three Spirit City were extremely peaceful. Those rascals were still in Maple Forest Planet. Maple Forest Planet only had one star door to Three Spirit City. Those rascals would never think that Tang Tian had already returned to Three Spirit City. That's right. Bing nodded. Magic Flute was moved. One of the three great armies, the Ophiuchus army. Magic Flute explained. Because this is something used by the aristocrats. No, more accurately, this is something that only the big aristocrats would use. For these kinds of things they usually have a history and are easy to find out, but it's not easy to get rid of them. You don't understand them well. The small aristocrats do not care about stolen goods. They would even purposely buy stolen goods since it's cheap. But the real big aristocrats, they are a group of people who are obsessed with cleanliness, and would definitely not be able to accept things of unknown origins. If they become the laughingstock of everyone because of this, it would be worse than killing them. How is that possible? Bing laughed out loud. It's not like every battle is a decisive battle. It's hard for you to understand how frequent wars were in our era. In a month we would fight for 20 days. It was extremely normal. If we fought to the death every time without retreating, then we would really die. In such an era of war, to be able to survive is the most fundamental principle. Almost all the powerful shield-type treasures mostly came from Scutum constellation, and Scutum constellation was the constellation that produced the most shield treasures. To you it's really not worth much. Magic Flute said honestly. Tang Tian seemed to have heard something unbelievable. You guys actually know how to escape? Shouldn't you guys fight to the death without retreating? What's it called? Tang Tian blurted out. Escape? Tang Tian was stunned. Escape? That means these things are not worth much. Tang Tian's tone became bad. Tang Tian glanced at Zhou Xian from the corner of his eyes and immediately reacted. Let's not talk about the blood rush shield first. Quickly help me take a look. Is there anything else valuable? Magic Flute was after all a very cultured spirit general and quickly kept his smile. These things are not star treasures, but some of the aristocrats' luxury goods. The materials used, the tailoring, they are all very particular. Seems like the person you are robbing is not simple. Tang Tian thought about it and felt that it was right. Scutum constellation star treasures? Magic Flute asked curiously. So you know how hateful these things are. Bing laughed. Especially those fellows from the Ophiuchus army, they quietly defend against your attacks, but it is also full of danger. At that time we had a saying when fighting with the blade and shield soldiers of the Ophiuchus army, if you are not able to defeat them in 10 moves, you will be in a dangerous situation. If after 20 moves you still have not broken through their defense, then run. His words were filled with sorrow. Their era had long passed and the divine weapons of the past were covered with a thick layer of dust and no one could recognize them. Tang Tian's main point were those sparkling and shining things. One look at the bright light, they were definitely treasures. Sai Lei laughed so hard that she was convulsing after a long time. She then stopped, panting. The cost of this thing is only 1.2 million star coins. I purposely cheated him. Why did you bring it back? Don't tell me I can still sell it? I had planned to cheat him and not sell it anymore. You actually snatched it back, haha. Chapter 224. That was a huge amount of wealth. How much Corvus gold does Corvus constellation produce in a year? Tang Tian asked. Asshole, I have never seen so much money before. How much do you have? Tang Tian suddenly raised his head, his eyes red. In the past you guys had such techniques? Magic Flute looked at the flickering cards on the martial technique wall. His heart was shocked. There were many things from the ancient times, even now they were still very powerful. Tang Tian's excited voice could almost pierce through people's eardrums. Don't tell me you went out to rob again? Bing's face was calm. 8 million star coins. Tang Tian's eyes immediately turned red. Xiaqing was truly shocked. Don't tell me master wants to buy in large quantities? Is it really worth that much? Tang Tian was moved. According to this ratio, 100,000 stone gravel beasts could roughly produce 5,000 kilograms of Corvus gold. 1 kilogram for 500,000 star coins, that was 5 billion star coins. Exchanging for food? That's a waste of resources. Sai Lei's eyes widened. No, I want to go to Corvus constellation. I want to do this business. God, this is definitely a profiteering business with 10,000% profit. Now everyone has not discovered this characteristic of Corvus gold. We need to take this chance and eat a large amount. We need. Tang Tian's eyes were already red and his blood started to flow. Especially when he thought about the majestic march towards the Xie Sword village, the number of 100,000 stone gravel beasts. Tang Tian's heart almost stopped beating. If that is true, then this problem we have to be careful. Bing's expression congealed. This can possibly affect the structure of Heaven's Road. If mechanical weapons use spirit jades, then it will be hard to mass produce. In our era, spirit jades are very rare materials. Now spirit jades are even more expensive. Corvus gold's price is much cheaper. Magic Flute was silent for a moment, then said, Ghost Claw will definitely succeed. An even bolder plan formed in his mind. Magic Flute laughed out loud. What do you mean? Tang Tian asked. However, there was still the 15 million star currency card, which gave Tang Tian some comfort. We need to plan this well. Bing said in a rare serious tone. Not expensive at all. Tang Tian shook his head. This is a specialty of Corvus constellation. It is obtained from a star spirit beast called the stone gravel beast. The locals use it to exchange for food. Tang Tian found Xiaqing and asked, Corvus gold from Corvus constellation, how much is it usually sold for? A shocking scene occurred. A golden spirit card that was emitting rays of light like a fierce shark swallowed the spirit card that was stuck on the martial technique wall. Tang Tian nodded thoughtfully. For example, if these 100,000 stone gravel beasts are exterminated, then after a long period of time, the stone gravel beasts on this planet will be extinct. I need at least 2 to 3 years to recover. Xiaqing said. All right. Sai Lei also understood the gravity of the matter and nodded without hesitation. Yes. Once Sai Lei talked about the professional field, she immediately became extremely serious. I have always had a headache over this problem. Mechanical weapons and martial spirits. The biggest problem is how to implant the martial spirit into the mechanical weapon. I used spirit jades before, but the price of spirit jades is too expensive. And spirit jades have a weakness, which is that they are fragile. Corvus gold perfectly solves this problem. The quality is hard and the price should not be too expensive. If you want to buy in large quantities, master, it is best to find those trading companies. Xiaqing explained. But those who do business with Corvus gold are all small trading companies. The profits are not high and the big trading companies are not willing to do it. Sai Lei hopes that we can buy large quantities of Corvus gold. Other people should not have discovered the use of Corvus gold. Tang Tian said seriously, we have prepared 50 million star coins. Adding the 100,000 stone gravel beasts outside, wow, that's a lot of money. Humph, if we wait for other people to react, the price of Corvus gold will definitely soar, and at that time the stone gravel beasts of Corvus constellation will be extinct. Sai Lei sneered. At that time it will be too late for you to regret. The price of 10 kilograms of Corvus gold will definitely be lower than spirit jades, but it is not without its disadvantages. For example, it is heavier. To high-end mechanical weapons, the amount of Corvus gold required is astonishing, and will greatly increase the weight of the mechanical weapon. But for low-end mechanical weapons it is definitely worth it. 10 kilograms of Corvus gold can be sold for at least 5 million star coins. That is definitely not a problem. That is also 500,000 star coins for 1 kilogram. Tang Tian said happily. That's right, Sai Lei said, the spirit jade's worth 8 million. 10 kilograms of Corvus gold can be replaced. Sai Lei was shocked. Did she provoke him too much just now? She stammered. Not much, about 70 to 80%, counting there should be around 30 million left. Sai Lei had already thought of a model. The cost was around 9 million star coins. But there were many materials that could not be bought. Helplessly, she just made a low-grade version and even pulled Bing over to test it out. Uncle. Tang Tian laughed bitterly. This time Zhou Xian had really become a hot potato. If he took it out to sell, it would be easy for others to find out, so he could only temporarily keep it in his hands. Of course. Sai Lei said indignantly. Do you know how much spirit jades are worth? A mung bean-sized black iron spirit jade sells for at least 20,000 star coins. And such a size of spirit jade can only be used as a fierce soldier, and the biggest cost of a fierce soldier is this. The cost of a fierce soldier is only 30,000 star coins. And for a martial spirit of the level of Sky Tiger, a single piece of spirit jade needs to exceed 100 grams. 100 grams is the size of a red date, and the purity has to reach the silver grade. Do you know how much it costs? If not for the fact that the military warehouse has it, do you think we can afford it? Starting from 8 million star coins. 10 kilograms of Corvus gold equals 8 million star coins. Zhou Xian's cost was only 1.2 million star coins. According to Sai Lei's original plan, 5 to 6 million would be enough. She did not expect to meet such a sucker. 20 million star coins, making Sai Lei elated. Magic Flute's expression also became serious. Behind the cross door on the martial technique wall, Bing continuously pasted the spirit cards in his hands onto the martial technique wall. Carrier of the martial spirit? Tang Tian was stunned. What secret? Bing was curious. Don't tell me there's a little crow inside. Tang Tian was unhappy. Hey uncle, I'm serious. Sai Lei said that Corvus gold can replace spirit jades. After so many years his heart was like a boulder, but this boulder was already filled with cracks. This was the corrosion of time. But the silent and wooden ghost claw made him see how strong his dreams were. Even after so many years, it was still like steel. The surface of the gold spirit card suddenly released a ball of mist, and then the mist enveloped the surface of the card, and the patterns on the surface of the card could not be seen. If I provide you with funds, how much can you buy? Tang Tian asked. Are you sure? Tang Tian looked at Sai Lei seriously. I'm betting all my assets, all of it. Nonsense. A godlike young lad like me, of course I'm righteous. Tang Tian stared at Bing and then smiled. Uncle, do you still remember the Corvus gold from the last time? Tang Tian nodded. You have to go to the military warehouse to hide for a while, to avoid the limelight. Now there's definitely no one to protect you. Great King? Magic Flute was stunned. There's such a weird name for a card. Sai Lei's eyes lit up. No problem, I can still squeeze out 5 million. That's 50 million. Then adding the 15 million I have here, it's 45 million. Tang Tian quickly calculated. We'll use all of it to buy Corvus gold. Bing's poker face twitched, then said, people who play too much poker will always be like this. But that card is really strong. But swallowing cards does not always have good results. Whether it succeeds or not, it all depends on that trace of martial spirit. Some martial spirits are not strong enough, and in the end the card will explode. What's wrong with the Corvus gold? Bing's face was weird. I sent it to Sai Lei. Tang Tian rushed in like a gust of wind. Bing and Magic Flute, who had long heard the commotion, looked at each other, and quietly left the martial technique wall. Xiaqing was surprised, but he still replied, a kilogram is about 500 star coins. Not every stone gravel beast has Corvus gold. Usually 20 stone gravel beasts can produce about a kilogram of Corvus gold. 500 star coins can buy a lot of rations. Why did First Snow only ask for 1.2 million star coins? Is because she used Corvus gold. The capacity of Corvus gold is smaller than spirit jades. A red date-sized silver-grade spirit jade requires 10 kilograms of Corvus gold. A red date-sized silver-grade spirit jade requires 8 million star coins. How much does 10 kilograms of Corvus gold cost? Sai Lei's face was filled with anger. Big business. Definitely big business. This is the 13th spirit card. Bing said softly, his poker face had a hint of fear. Ghost Claw, this brat is unexpectedly fierce. The last strand of martial spirit is actually so ferocious. Alright, the Corvus gold you gave me last time, where did you get it from? Sai Lei's eyes lit up. Good stuff, this amount is not enough to fill the gaps between my teeth. I need more Corvus gold. This type of Corvus gold has a miraculous use. It is very suitable to be used as a carrier for martial spirits. This situation is very rare. Bing said without turning his eyes. The most common card on the martial technique wall is integration. This is not integration but engulfment. The cards that are engulfed are much stronger than normal cards. In the past our army also produced a few engulfment cards. The strongest was the captain's, King. Tang Tian's face was ashen as he listened to Sai Lei's story. The golden light aura was like breathing, bright and dark. Xiaqing heard Tang Tian's tone and became even more cautious. Normally for our village we can hunt about 60 stone gravel beasts a month, and get about 3 kilograms of Corvus gold. 1,500 star coins of income is enough for the village to live for a month. But this is hard to say. Sai Lei discovered a secret of the Corvus gold. Tang Tian said mysteriously. This was first snow. Sai Lei's expression also became solemn. I swear on the name of a mechanical engineer. Corvus gold can replace spirit jades? Bing suddenly stood up, his poker face suddenly became excited. It can really replace spirit jades. That's right. Tang Tian did not deny. Chapter 225. Towards this famous saying, Tang Tian understood it without a teacher. His eyes were red and set out the idea that he had racked his brains and discussed with demonic flute for a long time. Bang! This power was too strong. Then one more time? Bing asked back. Everyone was stunned by Tang Tian's generosity. 5 days, 1 person a day for 1 million star coins, 5 people 25 million star coins. Wu Guang held onto his broken blade, thumping his chest, his eyes suffused with a blood-red light. Wu Guang's eyes immediately turned red, his killing intent soaring. Xiaqing looked at Tang Tian in fear, his mind in a blank. Master Tang did not say a word and gathered 5 Heavens Road grade martial artists. This. I caught you. Let me do it? Bing asked. Corvus Constellation? I am here. Ayaya, where are you? He left a message for Big Brother Jing Hao, saying that he needed some reliable people and was willing to pay and to report his location. He needed them to rush to his location within 3 days. If your instantaneous burst of power is 3 times your usual, can you get rid of it? Bing asked. Of course I can. Tang Tian understood, but I don't know how to use a shield. Entering Sky Tiger, Bing did a few stretches, and suddenly disappeared from his original position. 5 Heavens Road grade martial artists. What kind of concept was that? Such a terrifying power. If they were to crush their way, no sword village would be able to stop them. In order to stop them, the only way was for the few strongest sword villages to form an alliance. Xiaqing's cold breath, clearly transmitted into everyone's ears, his mind was in a daze. But following that, his heart surged with endless fear. Master Tang. Don't tell me he wants to attack Corvus Constellation. Crane, on the other hand, was extremely calm. After flying for 70 m in the air, he smashed onto the ground like a sandbag. Very quickly, Jing Hao replied to Tang Tian, telling Tang Tian that Wu Guang's position was coincidentally nearby, so that Tang Tian could contact Wu Guang. Tang Tian deeply felt what was the phrase humans die for wealth, birds die for food. Now he was already thinking, why were there so few stone gravel beasts? The main point of our plan is the stone gravel beasts. Crane nodded his head calmly. All right. Yeah, let me try and see if this thing is as amazing as you said. Tang Tian said confidently. Come on, use more strength. Where could he find business? How terrible. Ever since he met Tang Tian, that fat sheep, he lived a free and unfettered life for a period of time. However, he soon fell into a tight financial situation again. Come on. Tang Tian steeled himself. He didn't believe that he couldn't block this kick. A blurry shadow of a leg suddenly appeared in front of the Blood Rush shield. The air in front of the Blood Rush shield exploded with a loud bang. A circular wave of air abruptly exploded along the surface of the Blood Rush shield. The blue metal leg heavily struck the Blood Rush shield. Xiaqing's face was pale as he swallowed his saliva. Tang Tian had actually taken out 2,500 star coins. That meant that he was after more than 25 million. At this point, if he still did not understand the value of Corvus gold, then he would be too stupid. So fast. Wu Guang sucked in a breath of cold air. Ling Su could not help but shout out, "What about me? What about me? Heaven's Road grade 4 of them. I can find 4 more. What, all of them? Little bro Tang, you know the price. Star coins? Star coins are fine too. What, 5 million in 5 days? Definitely no problem. You're the boss. Tell me, who do we need to kill? Give me 5 million. In 5 days I'll kill whoever you want me to kill. Little bro Tang, don't worry, us brothers are definitely reputable and trustworthy. This fellow was a good fighter. Yes, stone gravel beast. To be more precise, Corvus gold." Tang Tian did not avoid Xiaqing and said, "In these 5 days our main focus is on Corvus gold. We need to get the most amount of Corvus gold in the shortest time possible. One day, just one day, we will appear in front of you with our swords. Use more strength." Bing took Sky Tiger without saying a word. He squinted his eyes and said, "I like using strength the most." This asshole. Wu Guang was a little worried. He had spent all his money and accumulated points. Bing called out to Tang Tian, "Take advantage of today's time to train your blood rush shield. Because these 5 people, I will only hire them for 5 days. Each of them will cost 1 million star coins a day." Tang Tian said honestly. Tang Tian thought about the battle with the stone gravel beast king and nodded his head. "That's right. That thing is hard to deal with. Ah, I can't live like this. Who's going to give me money?" Xiaqing took the star coin card. His hands were trembling and his face was flushed red. Crane did not say anything. But a strange look flashed past his eyes. Heavenly Crane constellation had been in decline for a long time. The number of Heaven's Road grade martial artists could be counted with one's fingers. But his mother's family had a deep and powerful background. But even so, 5 Heaven's Road grade martial artists were still a force to be reckoned with. Tang Tian felt that it made sense. Then let's try it out. Tang Tian returned to the cross door. "You need more manpower? That's fine. I happen to have 2 brothers that I'm familiar with nearby. Don't worry, they are all Heaven's Road grade experts. I will definitely not fool you." But he did not dare to have any distracting thoughts. Other than gratitude, Tang Tian's display of strength was too shocking. With just 1 finger, the entire Xia family sword village would be destroyed. Ling Su looked at Tang Tian weirdly. "What are you doing?" Tang Tian struggled to get up from the ground. His face was extremely ugly. He stared fiercely at Sky Tiger. 1 person for 5 million star coins. For 5 days, that was an average of 1 million a day. Tang Tian suddenly caught sight of a blue shadow flashing past his left. Tang Tian's eyes widened. "How is it? Feels good, right?" Bing's teasing voice came from above. Tang Tian felt as though he was hit by a wild beast. His entire body flew out like a sandbag. Bing's poker face revealed a pleased expression. If it was a battle, that would be a big taboo. But tomorrow is fine. You just need to practice a little more. Those normal stone gravel beasts attacks, you should be able to defend against them. If you can endure a few more hits, your sudden burst of power will be enough to kill the stone gravel beast king. The Ophiuchus army used to do that frequently. Wretched, that group of people can think of all kinds of wretched moves. Don't you want to hurry? This is the best way. Bing's figure suddenly disappeared from Tang Tian's vision. Xiaqing immediately said, "I will let a few reliable people go to the trading companies to buy them on the same day. You will know when the time comes." Tang Tian once again revealed a pleased expression. "All right, everyone rest well. When they come tomorrow, everyone will be full of energy." Suddenly, the honorable martial plate lit up. Who would look for him at this time? Even if it was Heaven's Road grade, such a price would definitely make people's hair stand on end. Heaven's Road grade martial artists also needed to eat. Spirit cards also needed money. The star rocks used for training were always scarce. Beauties matched with heroes. Without star coins, no matter how heroic he was, he would not have beauties. Tang Tian used the honorable martial plate to find Big Brother Jing Hao. Xiaqing immediately nodded his head. "No problem." 5 Heaven's Road grade martial artists appeared at the same time. Even blind cord old man had to retreat. His consciousness connected with the honorable martial plate. Seeing that it was Tang Tian, his spirit was suddenly roused. Little brother Tang, what business do you have to introduce to Big Brother Wu? Big Brother Wu has been full of energy recently. Finished, he took out the blood rush shield and made a blocking pose. He said to Bing, you try it. Then what are we doing? Ling Su asked impatiently. Wu Guang was actually nearby. Tang Tian's spirit was roused. Xiaqing was not just stunned but completely shaken. Every piece of flesh on his body, heart, liver and lungs were trembling. Thinking about how their sword village could earn 1,500 star coins a month, they felt satisfied. If they earned 10,000 a month, that would only be 15 million. That's not enough, little brother Tang. What do you want to do? Don't tell me you want to wipe out the entire Corvus Constellation sword village. Aha, I'm just joking, no problem. As long as you give me the money, wiping out the sword village is not a problem. Sure, our honorable martial alliance might not have anything else, but we definitely have a lot of strong martial artists. Stone gravel beasts. 3 days. Definitely not. I know where you are. Don't worry, in 1.5 days I will definitely rush there. Of course you are following me. Tang Tian said with a matter-of-fact face. Bing and Magic Flute were not surprised. They had long received the news. We need to use the fastest time to wipe out the stone gravel beasts. So the best way is for us to first kill the stone gravel beast king, then hold back or force blind cord old man to retreat. Uncle Flute will use his sound martial technique to make these stone gravel beasts kill each other. Xiaqing will bring a few people to prevent the stone gravel beasts from escaping. You must bring all the villagers so when we collect the Corvus gold we can save time. Why 5 days? Crane suddenly asked. Tang Tian straightforwardly gave the remaining 25 million to the two of them. Buy as much as you can. Tang Tian continued. After that we need to split into a few groups. One group will go to different trading companies to buy the Corvus gold. This action must be fast. If they come back to their senses, they will definitely not be willing to sell. Crane and Xiaqing will go and do this. Time is money. Tang Tian moved his numb arms, his expression fierce and disdainful. Pay with just this bit of strength, you call it fun? What fun? Uncle, you're too old, you don't have any strength. I thought that kick of yours could kick a cow to death. With just this bit of strength? Now we need to change our plans. Tang Tian's gaze swept across the rest. Tomorrow there will be 5 Heavens Road grade martial artists coming to help. 1 day's time, what's the use of training? Tang Tian did not understand. The few of them stared blankly at Tang Tian. Stone gravel beasts. With 5 Heavens Road grade martial artists, facing the majestic stone gravel beast army, their chances of winning had increased greatly. It could be said with the addition of the 5 Heavens Road grade martial artists, their victory was almost set in stone. Usually it is useless, but for tomorrow's battle it will be very useful. Bing explained, with your current strength killing the stone gravel beast king is not easy, right? Chapter 226. Tang Tian stared at Bing with his eyes wide open. He could no longer raise his arm. Bing used more strength this time. The strength of this kick suddenly multiplied. Oh no, am I a pedantic spirit general? Tang Tian flew out again. This brat was so easily fooled. I can openly trample on this brat, waha. Bing was laughing maniacally in his heart. Tang Tian's slap just now made all of Magic Flute's emotions suddenly rush to the highest heavens. This. Who. Bing stared blankly at Tang Tian. After a while, the shock in his heart slowly dissipated. Dong. Not only that, Magic Flute, who was originally stunned upon hearing the name Explosive Kick, he quivered. Suddenly he looked at Bing with extreme sympathy. This brat definitely did not feel that explosive kick. That kick of his was not an ordinary side kick, it had a name, City-Breaking Kick. Just like its name, this side kick was initially used in sieging a city. Under the kick of an expert it could break open a city gate. It was the middle-level fighting technique of the mechanical weapons. It was famous for its strength, fast as lightning. Flew out. That kick just now, it was really refreshing. This wave of heat was too strong. Tang Tian's entire body felt like it was scalding. The aftershock did not stop, penetrating his body straight into the ground. Tang Tian staggered a few steps back. Was this considered as asking to be humiliated? Forget it. Luckily he had the mechanical weapon to block his face. Tang Tian, who was glaring at him, Every cell in his body was mobilized, everything around him seemed to slow down. The floating air rolled up into a ball of air. The dust was like broken leaves following the flow of air. The friction of the blue leg in the air produced heat. Everything slowed down like a still painting. Again. Tang Tian was unconvinced and roared. He was obviously dissatisfied with himself for actually retreating so many steps. Tang Tian immediately exploded, his eyes turning red. He clenched his teeth and said, "Come, if I'm afraid you're not Tang Tian." He had always felt that he was a knowledgeable spirit general, but at this moment he felt that his knowledge was too shallow, his vision was too narrow, and his brain was not enough. Magic Flute looked at everything that was happening in front of him in shock. He completely did not know what to say. Tang Tian's tenacity had exceeded his expectations and deeply shocked him. Every time he thought that Tang Tian wouldn't be able to get up, that he wouldn't be able to do so. But this guy would still get up. Impossible. A wave of astonishing power suddenly struck onto the blood rush shield, and an unparalleled heat flow as fine as hair flowed into Tang Tian's body from the blood rush shield. Tang Tian's body stiffened. It was as if countless streams of heat had instantly rushed into his flesh and bones. "Come." Tang Tian glared at him. Bang. Tang Tian entered an indescribably strange state. Obviously not. Looking at Tang Tian, who was trembling like a sieve, but still insisted on getting up, Bing's face was no longer smiling. 10,000 streams returned to the origin, converging into a sea. Every muscle in his body instinctively adjusted and trembled. The blood rush shield in his hands lowered and slowly tilted. Too powerful. The next day. Pay half of the money first, the rest will be paid after the deed is done. Tang Tian did not say anything and took out 5-star coin cards. When Tang Tian was a scholar, he had interacted with the gangsters on the streets many times. He knew that to these people there was nothing more exciting than seeing money. Bang. Like a cannonball, he transformed into a straight blue light. What a natural-born warrior. His morale soared. Bing was slightly embarrassed by his own shamelessness. Among the same-level martial artists, no one would be able to receive his crushing city kick and not take a step back. Even the experts among the Ophiuchus army's blade and shield soldiers could not do it. His entire body trembled and swayed, but he still did not admit defeat. A godlike young lad should not take a step back. After a full 20 seconds, Tang Tian finally regained his strength. He struggled to climb up. That pair of eyes seemed to be spewing fire. He stared fiercely at Bing and squeezed out 2 words from his teeth. Again. Xiaqing watched with trepidation. His current strength was not bad and he was already mentally prepared. But when he truly saw the 5 Heavens Road grade martial artists appearing in front of him, that strong aura still caused his heart to tremble. But, not taking a step back, Wu Guang's loud voice came from afar. The 5 figures were like 5 angry arrows, rushing to the front of everyone in a moment. This asshole. Am I a pedantic person? Bing, who regained his composure, snorted. I still thought you would not take a step back, godlike young lad. Then I'm coming. Bing scoffed. He was extremely pleased with himself. Sky Tiger's entire body was embedded in the wall. His surroundings were filled with spiderweb cracks. Are you for real? Bing, who had no limits of his shamelessness, pretended. You can defend against it? I don't believe it. I suspect that if you take a few more kicks you will be terrified. When that happens you will hide in a corner and cry alone. How can I bear to see that? Bing clenched his teeth. He fiercely rushed towards Tang Tian. Another city-breaking kick. A series of metal clashing sounds came out. The blood rush shield was like a small fly swatter. Sky Tiger was like a gigantic fly. But this gigantic fly was actually swatted away by the small fly swatter. Bing comforted himself. At the same time he was troubled. But he immediately reacted. Why would I be troubled by such things? Only those pedantic fellows would be restricted by such rules and regulations. Bing was stunned. In that moment he was stunned. Dang. Tang Tian waved his hand. Just like when he was a top student in school, he was extremely heroic. Let's go. Not good. The shield enlarged in his vision. Bing suddenly remembered. The shield that he had trampled on for so long was the blood rush shield. The blood rush shield blocked Bing's kick. Tang Tian's figure swayed. But he did not retreat. Such a tenacious fellow. Again. A voice that was similar to crying came out from behind the blood rush shield. Tang Tian's entire body was trembling. He was trembling more violently than Bing. His expression was distorted. But his eyes did not shrink back. It was like a raging fire. Magic Flute, who was at the side, was in awe. Bing's 2 city-breaking kicks were as fast as lightning. They were as heavy as a landslide. He did not even catch them. Such a martial technique in the Southern Cross Army, even a qualified soldier was able to use it. Magic Flute just stood there like a stone. But Bing was suddenly interested. There were not many opportunities to bully little Tang Tang so openly. Bang bang bang. As expected, little brother Tang is so generous. Relying on that brat Jing Hao, I am going to starve to death. Wu Guang held the broken blade in his hand. He looked around. He was ferocious. Brother, tell me, who are we going to kill? Bing panted. He was extremely tired. Although the city-breaking kick's power was astonishing, it consumed a lot of true power. After continuously kicking for 30 over kicks, his true power was almost depleted. Indifferent eyes, calm expression, lingering killing intent, a dangerous and strong pressure, shrouded the entire field. Tang Tian's gaze was fixated on the blue afterimage that was as fast as lightning. He was extremely focused. His intuition was at its peak. Everything around him was reflected in his heart. Bing was stunned. So, cool. Tang Tian muttered to himself. In the future I will call you Explosive Cool Slap. The blood rush shield washed over his body again and again. A large amount of heat flowed into his 4 limbs and 5 bones. At this moment, it was as though he had awoken. All the fine currents burst forth. His heart was beating wildly. Unfortunately, he was already an arrow at the end of its flight. There was no way to dodge. He could only watch as the blood rush shield grew bigger in his eyes. But very quickly Tang Tian laughed out loud. I blocked it. I blocked it. Plang. Wu Guang was even more excited. He rubbed his hands. Little brother is still the most straightforward. Tang Tian was also stunned by the outcome of the battle. He even forgot to pant. He stared blankly at the blood rush shield in his hands. It was as though he was at a loss and reminiscing about it. This godlike young lad was truly unfathomable. Indeed, he could not learn to play poker in the future. Bang. Inside Sky Tiger, Bing stared blankly at Tang Tian. His eyes were filled with disbelief. Tang Tian actually blocked it. Bing's legs were trembling. An intense feeling of weakness spread through his body. It was as though his legs were made of cotton. The slowly adjusting blood rush shield happened to have a slight tilt. It faced the blue metal leg. Impossible. How could such a ridiculous thing happen? Bing immediately became bold and confident. His mouth was full of nonsense. This kind of low-level side kick. Any qualified soldier can use it. You can't even block it. Young lad, you're still far from it. It was now. Magic Flute faintly thought. Tang Tian was also stunned. The other 4 were also brimming with killing intent. After rushing for an entire night, the 5 of them were still brimming with energy. There was not a hint of fatigue on their faces. Tang Tian was also fooled by Bing. He did not show any weakness. Again. Just now was just a warm-up. Now this godlike young lad is going to use his true power. Blocking your broken leg is just a piece of cake. Bing immediately felt the pressure. He had a headache. What if this rascal really did it? He could still hold on. Tang Tian's cheerful and excited laughter resonated throughout the recruit barracks. Magic Flute could not help but smile. After retreating 7 to 8 steps, Tang Tian finally stabilized himself. He gasped for breath. He suddenly realized that he was sweating profusely. It was as though he just came out from a pool of water. Bing originally wanted to give Tang Tian a show of strength. This rascal had been complacent for too many times. He wanted to take him down a peg or two. But what a terrifying slap. In his teaching career, there had never been anyone who was able to block his destructive fortress kick without any special training. Bing's destructive fortress kick was flawless. If he had to point out a weakness, it would be that his realm and true power had dropped by a lot. But at the same level, Bing's destructive fortress kick was definitely of a high standard. With one step, Tang Tian broke away from that mysterious state. The heat flow that entered his body immediately became scalding hot, stinging, and unbearable. Sigh. Tang Tian sucked in a breath of cold air. His entire face scrunched up. But he endured it. Ah! I did it. A blue metal leg suddenly pierced into this still image. Ha, little brother Tang. Countless tiny heat flows surged up. Tang Tian's head heated up. His entire body seemed to be filled with boundless energy. Without thinking, he used the blood rush shield in his hands to face Sky Tiger. As expected, the four of them were roused. They looked at Tang Tian with a kind gaze. Chapter 227. He could hear that Xiaoyu already had the intention to retreat. Xiaoyu was shocked by Guodong's blood-red eyes, but he immediately shook his head. They are too strong. You and I do not have any chance of winning. With such a strong power, no one in Corvus constellation can stop them. Bing shook his head, secretly mocking himself. To actually have such a misconception, the commander was such a heroic figure. So upon hearing this name, the two of them were in a bad mood. As for the rest, me Ling Su, Tang Tian, Wu Guang, Che Bao, Xianxia, the six of us with the fastest speed will kill the stone gravel beast king. Me Ling Su, Tang Tian, Wu Guang, the four of us will move alone. Che Bao and Xianxia will move together. Our main point is fast. The time needed to kill the stone gravel beast king, the faster the better. To suddenly find 5 Heaven Road grade martial artists, such a big move, was enough to cause fear in people's hearts. Our target today is Blind Cord Old Man. Blind Cord Old Man and his mute servant are very strong, we just have to hold them back. Bing weakly explained the battle plan. Tang Tian could come up with ideas, but when it came to actual battle tactics they needed professionals. Bing had not recovered from the slap from Tang Tian yesterday. Heaven Shower Blade. Guodong's face changed when he heard the name. Tang Tian and the rest had seen it before, so all of them were calm. But could it be that Xiaoyu was injured for nothing? Thinking that Xiaoyu would be like Xiaoyu in the future, covered in feathers, his heart felt like it was being stabbed by a knife. Even though he was far away, Guodong could still feel the terrifying power of the blade. His heart was overwhelmed with shock. Who was this guy? How is this possible? How is this possible? Even the power of the 100,000 stone gravel beast army was suppressed by the roar of this group of people. His power obviously exceeded the other Heaven Road list candidates, so he was hailed as the first candidate. Xiaoyu's expression changed. After a moment he returned to normal and sighed. Brother Gua, the opponent has the advantage in numbers, we cannot fight them. That Tang Tian's background as an honorable martial alliance was obvious. However, his strength was as strong as his temper. The woman in black was completely stunned. She felt as if she had fallen into an ice house and her hands and feet were ice cold. Although he was watching from afar, he could tell that the figures that were rushing over were all extraordinary. Bing also looked at Crane in astonishment, but he was also not clear of Crane's strength. Since Crane opened his mouth, it meant that he definitely had some confidence, so he retracted his state of mind and continued speaking. Xiaoyu's brows furrowed imperceptibly. He felt that Guodong had already entered a demonic state. The opponent was so strong, but Guodong still hadn't given up. Xia Qing nodded his head. He had just comprehended the cry of the Guardian Heart Sword, and was indeed stronger in defense than offense. With such a generous financial backer, everyone had the idea of making a long-term investment. Of course they had to perform well. Crane suddenly said, Xia Qing and I will deal with Blind Cord Old Man. A group of red-eyed fellows kicked up a cloud of dust. Guodong's face turned green. In just a few days, the opponent actually had another 5 Heavens Road grade martial artists. Although they were not experts on the Heavens Road list, but 5 Heavens Road grade martial artists by themselves were a very strong force. With his strength, dealing with a normal Heavens Road grade martial artist was not a problem. But if there were 2, it would not be easy for him to win, and if there were 3, he would be at a disadvantage. Luckily there were enough stone gravel beasts. Blind Cord Old Man's expression congealed. Not good. 1, 2, 3. Everyone's gaze all turned to look at Tang Tian. She did not see Blind Cord Old Man's skinny fingers that were touching Hugong, could not help but tremble. As long as one was familiar with the Heavens Road list's waiting list, they would definitely not be unfamiliar with the name Heaven Shower Blade Wu Guang. If one looked at Wu Guang as an ordinary Heavens Road list's waiting list, then he would die a horrible death. Heaven Shower Blade Wu Guang had another nickname. He was always known as the Waiting Number 1. His roar was like thunder exploding out, echoing in the air. His face that was always calm finally revealed a look of fear. Why are there so many experts? Everyone get ready. Bing took over the command. That was where the lunatics were produced, and the only ones that could be compared to them were the onyx souls produced by the other lunatics. Guodong clenched his fists tightly, his entire body trembling. Not long later, rumbling sounds came from the front. Tang Tian was already wearing his armor, equipped with the bleeding cat blade scythe, his left hand holding onto the blood rush shield. Under the sunlight, the silver armor was glowing with a dazzling silver light. The dark red bleeding cat blade scythe was terrifying. The blood rush shield on his left hand was glowing with a faint blood light. So much money. The lady in black calmed down. The majestic group of stone gravel beasts gave her a sense of security. 100,000 stone gravel beasts. Even if the opponent was a Heaven's Road grade martial artist, to kill them all, it would take a long time. From then on, he was never selected for the Heaven's Road list, and Immortal Marshal, to save some face for himself, placed him on the waiting list. With the strength of a Heaven's Road list martial artist, to stay on the waiting list, he became the only one. Tang Tian did not know what Bing was thinking. He looked at the densely packed stone gravel beasts army, as though he was looking at a vast ocean of star coins. Xia Yu's reaction, Guodong was not surprised at all. 5 Heaven's Road grade martial artists. Not only was there an additional 5 people, but it also meant that the opponent's power was huge and the power they could mobilize was huge. Heaven's Shower Blade, it's Heaven's Shower Blade Wu Guang. Xia Yu muttered to himself, such a dazzling blade, occupied his entire vision. The opponent actually had an additional 5 Heaven's Road grade martial artists. Bing had already explained the battle plan very clearly. He shut his mouth and looked at Tang Tian. Suddenly he had an illusion he was like this in the past, looking at the commander, waiting for the commander to give the order to attack. His ears rang with everyone's earth-shattering roars. Charge. Thinking about that, Xia Yu shook his head. He would not accompany Guodong to fool around. Along the way they had always heard Wu Guang talk about how generous the sponsor was. Seeing them today, they truly lived up to their name. Before the battle even started, each person had already given out 5 million star coins. Corvus constellation was just a small constellation. Even in the southern sky's 42 constellations, it was considered a small constellation from the bottom. The number of martial artists in Corvus constellation was pitiful. It was too desolate and barren. Although everyone could not guess Bing's background, but without question the opponent was professional, and that was enough to convince them. Guodong bit his lips so hard that he almost bit his lips. Damn it. Guodong's face became even worse. The opponent's strength made him feel despair. Ling Su's fighting intent had long been ignited. His orange pupils were like raging flames. Hearing Tang Tian's roar, a surge of hot blood rushed to his head. Swoosh, he raised his silver spear and roared, charge. Che Bao and Jin Xia did not speak. Bing had placed the 2 of them in the same group, obviously thinking that they were not strong enough. But the 2 of them were experienced and did not say anything, but their hearts were secretly suppressing a burst of energy. This brat was arrogant and untamed. His temper was explosive, adding that he was muddle-headed at times. He had caused a lot of trouble for himself. Even inside the Honorable Martial Alliance, he had offended many martial artists. They were already considered the top martial artists of Corvus constellation, but in the entire Heaven's Road they were nothing. In the distance, sand and dust filled the air, covering the sky. It was extremely terrifying. A few of the Heaven's Road martial artists, their faces congealed, although they had heard about it from Bing, but personally witnessing it, they were still shocked. He was not belittling himself if it was one-on-one. Even if the opponent was Wu Guang, Xia Yu still had some confidence in his own strength. But the opponent had the absolute advantage in terms of numbers. What was more troublesome was Wu Guang. This fellow was an Honorable Martial Alliance person. Ling Su sat on Flamingo. The repaired Flamingo was even faster, more agile and nimble. The current Sai Lei's mechanical techniques, compared to the past, could be said to have been reborn like Flamingo. This type of mechanical beast was completely not difficult for her. Suddenly, from the group of stone gravel beasts came a roar filled with killing intent. Kill! Crane's own strength was extremely strong, and Tang Tian did not hold back on the Crane body energy at all. Crane was originally just lacking a layer of window paper, and now that he had broken through it, he was suddenly enlightened. Many things that he did not understand previously were instantly comprehended. For the past few days he had once again combed through the martial techniques of the Crane sect, and his comprehension deepened. What kind of sword technique was this? This was definitely not a good experience. The scalding, stinging sensation washed over every muscle and bone in his body. He did not know what the blade shield soldiers of the Ophiuchus army were like, but their ability to endure pain was obviously outstanding. It felt that its fist was like hitting a sturdy rock, no harder than a rock. Alright, let's not think about the Ophiuchus army. That felt great. The moment one of the stone gravel beasts waved its gigantic rock fist and hit the blood rush shield, it unleashed its attack. Its speed was extremely fast and its metallic fist instantly appeared behind Tang Tian. Countless of its enemies had fallen under its feet. Its tribe was also much bigger than the other tribes. That was because it was smarter. Those people who only believed in martial strength, how would they understand the profoundness of wisdom? Oh, I will definitely not tell them. Bang bang bang. Tang Tian's eyes suddenly lit up. Its fist did not make any sound, its arm was as soft as noodles, and without any warning, it appeared on Tang Tian's back. A cunning look flashed past its eyes, although its strength was much stronger than the other stone gravel beasts. But why would it attack the enemy head-on? Even now, the stone gravel beast king's headless body was frozen in place, not moving an inch. He looked at Tang Tian in fear. That attack was completely out of order. His movements were out of shape, illogical, and the way he held the shield was very amateurish. Crane's heart was extremely agitated. The crane body energy in his body surged to the maximum. The ancient sword in his hand trembled, suddenly releasing a resounding sword cry that pierced through the clouds. After taking more than 10 hits, Tang Tian realized that it had not reached the critical point. Xiaoyu, who was far away, coincidentally glanced over, witnessing such a shocking scene. His entire person was stunned as though he was a statue. After a while, his lips moved, his eyes that had lost focus slowly regained his senses. Tang Tian could continue to use the shield to block. Looked like he was flustered, but that was because he did not know any shield defense techniques. Blind Cord Old Man knew what that meant, so he prepared to escape without hesitation. Until then, the lady in black then realized, a few figures had already rushed in front of them, the strong and dangerous chi on their bodies, causing her to be unable to move. Barbarians. His hand movements were even faster, holding onto the sword hilt without unsheathing the sword. With a shake, a white circular light circle appeared in the air. The light circle screeched, flying towards the lady in black. The mute servant's face changed. At that moment he could not care about escaping. He flipped his palms were instantly covered in flames and slapped towards Crane's sword. The flames stuck tightly to the mute servant's palms, and the surrounding air immediately became blazing red. Bang bang bang. Crane sect's absolute technique. Crane dance. An expert. When the stone gravel beast king quietly sneaked behind him, Tang Tian had already sensed its presence. The stone gravel beast king was slightly angry that its sneak attack had failed, but it was cunning and cautious. Even when attacking Tang Tian, it still had some energy left. From today onwards, Crane sect will regain its glory. Her entire body went numb and she immediately fainted. The crane dance was able to fuse with any type of crane sect martial technique. All the agile and graceful postures could cause the crane sect's martial techniques to become stronger and harder to grasp. That scene that was brimming with visual impact was like a nightmare appearing in front of him. The stone gravel beast king's entire head was instantly smashed into sand. He could not see any techniques, could not see any changes in the martial techniques, only power, a barbaric and unreasonable power. The lady in black was stunned and subconsciously blurted out, "Master." Xie Qing's heart jumped, the sword in his hand trembled, the sword cry sounded out in his heart, and only then did it cancel out the sound wave. The stone gravel beast king's proud gaze suddenly froze. A shield releasing a faint blood light suddenly appeared in front of its fist. The crane dance's posture was elegant and graceful, and was usually learned by those who entered the sect. But everyone thought that the graceful movements of the crane dance were only used to train the muscles and bones, until now in Crane's hands under the crane body energy, the crane dance was able to display its true power. Xiaoyu shivered, the black feathers on his body scattered into the air as though they were startled. The heat flow in Tang Tian's body suddenly increased by a few times. Sigh. Tang Tian sucked in a cold breath and grimaced in pain. The slap that he gave to Bing last night had caused him to be addicted. He could not help but want to do it again. He suspected that the Ophiuchus army's blade and shield soldiers were addicted to the strange feeling. Bang! Crane's expression was solemn, the ancient sword in his hand pierced forward. A clear crane cry suddenly came out from the sword body. Blind cord old man's face changed, the sound of the sword breaking through the air was clear and piercing into people's hearts. From the fluttering sound of Crane's sleeves, it was as though he could see a black crane flapping its wings. The power was vigorous and agile. The stone gravel beast king of the group of stone gravel beasts had long noticed Tang Tian, and at the start, it was extremely cautious. But when it realized Tang Tian was only raising his shield, like a ball being hit by the stone gravel beasts, and did not have a proper counterattack, the stone gravel beast king suddenly realized that the enemy in front of it had disappeared. The lady in black's face turned pale. She only felt that her vision was completely covered by the halo, and what made her even more shocked was that she could not move. Her entire body could not even move a finger. Bang! A huge force came from the shield, causing Tang Tian's body to sway. The stone gravel beast king was indeed the stone gravel beast king. The power of the fist was not something a normal stone gravel beast could compare to. Crane cry of the 9 heavens. Tang Tian was flustered as he blocked the attacks of the stone gravel beasts. The normal attacks of the stone gravel beasts to him were not much of a threat, but every time the blood rush shield blocked an attack, a wave of heat would spread into his body. It did not hesitate and decided to attack. Today's battle was the first battle for the Crane sect to regain their glory. Although his blocking movements were not up to standard, it was not beautiful at all, but he was able to block the attacks of the stone gravel beasts, and his movements were relatively stable. His outstanding fundamental martial techniques were still displaying their use. Even the shield defense martial technique that he was completely unfamiliar with was still something he could barely handle. But very quickly the stone gravel beast king realized, although the enemy was very sturdy, but he only took hits and did not retaliate. Its guts gradually grew and its attacks became more ferocious. God, I must have gone crazy. I actually agreed to Guodong to become enemies with this kind of person? Blind cord old man knew that his life was at stake. His right hand fiercely pulled the strings of the Eru. King Hiwu was one of them. Just as the 3 of them were forced back by blind cord old man's attack, a black figure suddenly broke through the air. But, quietly, it moved between the stone gravel beasts, extremely cunning. Xia Yu's mind surfaced the image of his own head being smashed by a shield that was emitting blood. It had been many years since Xia Yu had received such a shock. This was definitely a barbarian. Bang! So scary. Different from Tang Tian, he was extremely familiar with the other martial techniques of the Crane sect, and was only lacking the Crane body energy, which was the crucial key. Now that he had the crucial key, the entire Crane sect's martial techniques in his eyes were unprecedentedly clear. Chapter 229. Etian and Hu Xing were even more surprised. Crane sect. Blind cord old man was surprised. He nodded his head. I have heard of it, but it has been withered for hundreds of years. Seems like heavenly crane constellation is going to rise again. Xie Qing's eyes were filled with admiration. They were both sword cultivators, but Crane's strength had reached the limits of his imagination. So strong, really so strong. The mute servant raised his left palm like a blade, pushing towards Crane. A fiery red palm aura, like a fiery red blade aura, whistled towards Crane. Can I ask which sect's martial technique is this? Blind cord old man's expression was calm. Even though he had decided to surrender, people could not help but admire his magnanimity. Where did such a peerless swordsman come from? As he ran, the Crane body in his body and the 3 illusions of the Crane body became more and more distinct. Regarding the nickname Little Crane, I am sorry, I really... Crane tried to express his opinion clearly. Tang Tian shouted excitedly. Shua 2 became 4. Seems like heavenly Crane constellation was going to have a comeback, the 2 of them thought at the same time. Furthermore, Crane was still so young, his future was limitless. If Crane was able to enter the top 8,000 of the Heaven Road list, he alone would be able to support the entire constellation. The densely packed identical cranes appeared in front of him, and the mute servant's eyes finally revealed a look of panic. As though he was struck by lightning, Crane looked at the four identical Tang Tian in front of him in disbelief, his mind in a blank. A strong martial artist on the Heaven Road list, even if they held him back, it was not without danger. Further down were the 5 polar domains: Ursa Minor Constellation, Ursa Major Constellation, Cepheus Constellation, Cassiopeia Constellation and Draco Constellation. These 5 constellations, although weaker than the 10 equatorial palace halls, were all strong constellations. Cepheus Constellation and Cassiopeia Constellation combined to form the immortal martial, which allowed them to become freaks comparable to the 12 ecliptic palaces. Crane glanced at Tang Tian and the rest who were flying towards him and said, "They are coming." The entire Heaven Road was filled with different levels. However, his harassment had given the mute servant a chance to catch a breather. "We surrender, don't kill him." Blind Cord Old Man's voice was hoarse. He suddenly spoke. Dong, the Eru and Eru bow in his hands were thrown to the ground. "Impossible." Tang Tian rushed over and shouted excitedly, "Hey little Crane, well done." They suddenly realized Crane with his own strength actually defeated the Blind Cord Old Man and the mute servant. As though they were struck by lightning, they stood rooted to the ground and stared at Crane in shock. This is surrender. It was as if they were watching a legend unfold in front of them. Run, run, run. That was the current constellation, and in history there were many constellations that had appeared, but now disappeared, as many as the hairs on an ox. For example, the famous Big Cloud constellation and Small Cloud constellation, or the Hell Dog constellation that was famed for its bloodthirstiness and brutality in the past. Heavenly Crane constellation was ranked at the bottom of the southern sky's 42 constellations, and had long faded from people's eyes. Tian and Hu Xing had heard of it before, but their impression of Heavenly Crane constellation was pitiful. Heavenly Crane constellation, Crane sex martial technique. Crane said slowly. His expression was calm, but his back was already drenched in sweat. The might of the 1,000 Crane clones was indeed strong, but the consumption of his true power was equally huge. The vigorous true power in his body was actually almost depleted. The sharp sword chime pierced through the clouds, suppressing the earth-shaking battle cries. "Wait a minute. I understand now." Schwa. But Crane's face did not change at all. He slowly kept his ancient sword. The sound of a flute sounded out, and the stone gravel beasts that had lost control started killing each other. Even Tian and the rest were horrified by the scene in front of them. The scene of the 4 Tang Tians speaking at the same time was unspeakably weird. Everyone stared at the Tang Tians in shock. No one could tell which one was real. Blind Cord Old Man, the sorrowful Blind Cord, such an expert on the Heaven's Road list, was actually defeated in a few moves. So that's it, no wonder, no wonder. Blind Cord Old Man's face suddenly surfaced excitement. "Can I meet Senior Magic Flute?" A mirage was to use true power to create a small crane body. The 12 ecliptic palaces were the strongest constellations. Even the withering constellations were like a skinny camel that was still bigger than a horse. They were definitely huge figures. And the constellations that were at the peak of their power, like the Leo constellation, had the terrifying power to stir up the entire Heaven's Road. Suddenly, his body froze. The sword sheath's tip was pressed against his spine. As long as the opponent released his true power, his spine would crumble. No matter how strong he was, it would be useless. As Tang Tian spoke, it became like he was talking to himself. He was lost in his thoughts. 1,000 Crane clones. How did this guy know 1,000 Crane clones? The mute servant's pupils suddenly dilated. In front of him were 16 identical cranes. He actually could not differentiate the real from the fake. But at that moment, Crane's true power was surging to the extreme. The sound wave rushed to his surroundings, forming a layer of transparent ripples. But the expected bitter battle turned into an easy battle. The two of them were still happy. Suddenly he was at a loss. He did not know what to do. "Wah wah wah, that's great." Crane's expression suddenly froze. Crane's eyes popped out. His entire person was in a mess. Little Crane, a martial artist of the Heaven's Road. With Crane's performance just now, he was definitely a martial artist of the Heaven's Road. "I'm sorry." Crane felt that he could not accept such a title. He could not accept it. Although Blind Cord Old Man was blind, but as though he saw the danger of the mute servant, he suddenly pulled the bow in his hand, and an extremely unpleasant sound suddenly came out. Tang Tian felt the crane body in his body was extremely lively. Tang Tian was extremely excited and started to excitedly run around the field. Tang Tian suddenly clapped his hands, his eyes lit up and suddenly became excited. I understand now. I understand now. It's like this. In the blink of an eye, the mute servant's eyes flickered. There were actually 10 identical cranes in the field. Heavenly Crane Constellation was also a small constellation, and compared to Corvus Constellation, its position was even lower. In many people's eyes, the closed and backward Heavenly Crane Constellation was almost no different from the fringe planets. Facing the shocking straight white sword aura, the mute servant acted as though he did not see it and used his life to fight. The 12 ecliptic palaces, 10 equatorial palace halls, 5 polar domains, northern skies 19 continents, southern skies 42 constellations, formed an awe-inspiring heavens road 88 constellations. A straight white sword aura tore through the air. The sharp sword aura instantly pierced through the mute servant's fiery red true power. The mute servant's face suddenly changed, his hand retracted as though he was electrocuted. The other 3 Tang Tians did the same action. Shwa shwa shwa, the 4 images merged into one. Tang Tian's heart suddenly moved. He could faintly feel the other 3 illusions of the crane body in his body resonating with the crane body in his body. Could it be there were still some changes? The Tang Tian in front of him suddenly split into two. 2 identical Tang Tians appeared in front of everyone. Even now, Crane's existence could greatly raise Heavenly Crane Constellation's ranking. 1,000 crane shadows. Which one was real? Yi Tian and Hu Xing looked at each other. Both of their gazes towards Crane were filled with respect. Before they could even react, the battle had already ended. They did not even have the chance to make a move. The strength and weakness of sound-type martial artists were like twins, but without question they were a group of unique martial artists. Northern Skies 19 continents was the backbone of the entire Heavens Road. Hercules constellation, Camelopardalis constellation led the 19 constellations. Immortal constellation was also impressively one of them, although it was at the bottom. All these years, there had always been a huge controversy regarding Immortal Constellation's Northern Sky qualifications, because Immortal Constellation did not fall too far. Southern Sky's 42 constellations contain the most constellations. Their standards were mixed. Some were not weaker than Northern Sky and some were weak and withered to the point of being on the edge of the planet. The weakness of sound-type martial artists was displayed incisively and vividly. Although sound-type martial techniques had a large area of effect, but its single-target destructive power could not be compared to other martial techniques. It was also an absolute technique of the crane sect that had been lost for a long time. Without the crane body energy, 1,000 crane shadows could at most transform into 2 figures, and its actual combat ability was pitifully low. But now Crane could transform into 16 figures in one breath. The power of this technique suddenly exploded. Crane's mind went blank. How could Heavenly Crane Constellation have such a powerful person? But the situation this time was really dangerous. If the 1,000 crane shadows did not defeat the enemy, then he would be in danger. Sorry? Aha, what are you sorry for? Tang Tian was so excited that he was dancing and did not even give Crane a chance to speak. That sword of yours was really too cool. Crane body energy, so that's how to use it. Well, I seem to understand a little, but I don't really understand it. Hey, I have to think about it. Oh, I feel that it is not normal. Crane's eyes flashed a biting cold aura. The sword body swung, and his footsteps seemed to be messily stepping backwards. Only to see Crane's figure, 1 became 2, 2 became 4, 4 became 8. Can I ask? Who is this sound-type martial artist? Blind Cord Old Man suddenly asked. The 4 Tang Tians shouted in unison, only to see one of the Tang Tians, suddenly rushing forward, extended his claws and grabbed. The 4 Tang Tians were like 4 houseflies running around randomly. The 4 identical fellows in front of them were like headless houseflies, causing everyone to go crazy. The standard of the strongest martial artist of the constellation directly determined the position of the constellation in Heaven's Road. This kind of thing happened frequently. In the southern skies 42 constellations, other than a few big constellations that were stable, the other constellations rose and fell frequently. What should I do? This is 1,000 crane shadows converging slay. Crane hesitated for a while but still replied, it is Senior Magic Flute, but Senior has already transformed into a spirit general. With Blind Cord Old Man's help, The battle was surprisingly easy and very quickly the stone gravel beast kings were wiped out. Next were the 10 equatorial palace halls. Cetus constellation, Unicorn constellation, Serpent constellation, Aquila constellation, all these strong constellations were all tyrants. And Ophiuchus constellation, which was once an ecliptic palace hall overlord. Although it had declined, it still had a place in the 10 equatorial palace halls. Crane's mind was clear and said calmly, "Let the stone gravel beast kings not resist." Xiaqing Yi Tian and Hu Xing all suspected that they had heard wrongly. Blind cord old man had surrendered. Tang Tian's fingertips suddenly released a loud and clear crane cry, just like Crane's sword. Again. Chapter 230. Xie Xinwu's father, Xie Xiong, was Yu Ji's playmate from the same village. Xie Xinwu and Yu Qing grew up together, they were like brothers. Yu Gu also treated him as her own child and taught him carefully. Xie Xinwu's strength was also very strong, but he actually managed to kill his way out. When he turned around to look for Yu Qing was nowhere to be found. Xie Xinwu carried the demon sealing sword on his back and searched everywhere for Yu Qing. He searched for 40 years but to no avail. In his later years, Xie Xinwu moved his clan here and called himself the Sword Guardian. Xie Qing was completely stunned, they were actually protecting the inheritance of a sword saint. Tang Tian's eyes lit up, to be able to have a Heaven Road list martial artist in charge, then Sai Lei's mechanical weapon shop would definitely be able to rest easy. Whoosh, everyone's gazes converged on her. Crane's heart was like a raging storm, although Tang Tian had only conjured 4 illusions, but Crane could recognize it with one look. It was the 1,000 Crane clones converging sky kill. This was the long-lost 1,000 Crane silhouette converging slash. The 1,000 Crane silhouette converging slash that shook the world in the past. Why do you want to remove the brand? Tang Tian had a strange look on his face. This is because the demon sealing sword still has the mark of the Crypto Sword Saint. The woman in black said, "Ever since the Crypto Sword Saint died, no one has been able to use the demon sealing sword, including his son Yu Qing and your ancestor Xie Xinwu. However, even if he was a sword saint after so many years, even if he had a brand, he would still be weakened. I have a way to break the mark." When the woman in black heard this, she couldn't bear it anymore and sat up. "Don't kill me." The corners of the other's eyes twitched and their expressions became unfriendly. The crane body energy could not be found, and the 1,000 crane shadows were like flowers in a mirror and the moon reflected in the water. Who would have thought of a killing technique that only left a name? Legend had it that the Crypto Sword Saint's sword was always hidden in a blind spot. It was as if his sword was invisible. This guy. For the first time, the calm and gentle Crane had the urge to raise his sword to kill. The woman in black had actually just woken up, but she pretended to be unconscious. Killer moves were not easy to obtain, whose killer moves were not exchanged for countless days and nights of sweat. It was already good enough to comprehend one killer move, but there was actually someone who said it was annoying because he had comprehended too many killer moves. Xie Qing raised his head, his eyes were bloodshot. Yu Qing's descendants, are they still alive? That's right, the higher the level, the more points. Wu Guang explained, there are many people in the group who have a death feud with Onyx Soul and they will issue a reward. It was too troublesome and dangerous to specially look for Onyx Soul martial artists, but to kill them along the way and collect a sum of points, it was very worth it. So you have to be careful, there are many rewards like this in Onyx Soul. Of course, most people are still very normal, although everyone is very hostile. Tang Tian was even more curious. Because this is something that Xie Qing and his clansmen are protecting, shouldn't a friend help him? Moreover, he persevered for hundreds of years for a belief. He is worthy of respect. Magic flute, blind cord old man, Xie Qing and the rest exclaimed out loud, their faces overwhelmed with shock. The lady in black knew that this was the first test and did not dare to hold back. The treasure sword is Crater Constellation Saint Treasure, Demon Sealing Sword. Just like how Crater Constellation was not noticed, Demon Sealing Sword is also rarely known. This sword landed in the hands of a young man called Yu Gu. I can provide you with information, any information you need I can find it for you. The lady in black braced herself and said. Magic Flute noticed their conversation and suddenly whispered something to blind cord old man who nodded his head. Magic Flute then walked over. Let him live, he is also a person who has worked hard. Sai Lei is also lacking someone to guard over there. Why not let him guard over there? That way Sai Lei's safety will not be a problem. I have asked him before, he is willing to sign the martial spirit contract. But since young I have walked to every corner of Stone Sword Peak, and have never found any demon sealing sword. Xianxia stared intently at the lady in black's eyes. Tang Tian immediately threw the killing technique to the back of his head, and turned back to kill the stone gravel beasts. The following battle did not have much suspense. Blind Cord Old Man surrendered. The stone gravel beasts were in a mess, and Magic Flute's flute sound caused the stone gravel beasts to start killing each other. Yes, regarding the news of the treasure sword, she was the one who found it. Although her strength is not high, but her ability to gather information is not bad. She has a younger sister who was born with a serious illness. She needs some special blood meridians to treat her sister's illness. Blind Cord Old Man did not hide anything. Time is money. No one knew his name, but to be able to be bestowed with the title of a saint in any era, he was a person who stood at the peak of that era. Everyone listened attentively. Xianxia could not help but clench his fist. Xie Wu was his ancestor. No matter what, Crane did not expect, this technique would actually appear in the hands of a person who had nothing to do with the Crane sect, and this person actually only saw him use the 1,000 Crane clones. Suddenly Tang Tian reacted and jumped up. Aya, we need to hurry. Quick, quick, quick. Suddenly a confused voice came out. What is this? A well-fed man does not know the pain of a starving man? Is it easy to talk while standing? That's right. The lady in black nodded. The strongest point of the demon sealing sword is that it can seal star treasures. Although the Crypto Sword Saint is low profile, but his battle achievements are shocking. Inside this sword there are many treasures sealed. Most importantly, it also sealed the inheritance of the Crypto Sword Saint, the true Crypto Sword current. This is also the reason why the disciple of the Crypto Sword Saint did not hesitate to kill Qin for this sword. Everyone gritted their teeth in hatred and wanted to rush up and beat the damn asshole up. Many people thought the 1,000 Crane clones was to confuse the enemy, but Crane knew the illusions of the 1,000 Crane clones were all prepared for the last killing technique. The battle lasted for a full 6 hours. And what about the consumption of true power? Easy to learn, powerful killing technique. Oh, the one that you and Jing Hao met the last time? Wu Guang casually said, just kill her. None of the Onyx Soul are good people. I just don't know what her level is. Killing an Onyx Soul person, you can get points in the guild. Xianxia's body trembled. He knew the name. Crane's eyes twitched. She was enlightened on the 1,000 Crane clones converging sky kill, and still said it was annoying. Not many people know the name Yugu, but his other name, everyone should be very familiar with. The lady in black slowly spat out 3 words, Crypto Sword Saint. There's such a thing? Tang Tian was dumbstruck. He finally knew how deep the hatred between the Honorable Martial Alliance and Onyx Soul was. Converging sky kill, how to converge no one knew. Why not kill you? Bing teased. Tang Tian and the rest looked at Xianxia. The Xie family had always called themselves the Guardians of the Sword, so it was like that. I don't know, he has never appeared before. The lady in black shook her head and said, I have investigated for a long time, but there is no news of his descendants. When the 100,000 stone gravel beasts all fell, the scene was spectacular and unforgettable. The villagers of the Xie family sword village who were waiting by the side immediately started to clean up the battlefield and collect the Corvus gold. The lady in black was startled. Don't tell me you don't want the demon sealing sword? Don't you want the treasures inside the demon sealing sword? Whoa, this move is so powerful. Tang Tian exclaimed. He looked at his own fingers in astonishment and muttered to himself. But the consumption of true power is really huge. My true power can only be used once. It's such a huge consumption killing move again, so annoying. The demon sealing sword is inside the Stone Sword Peak? Xianxia asked. Thinking that a problem could be solved, Tang Tian was extremely happy. Crypto Sword Saint, this name, they had definitely heard of it. It was like thunder piercing their ears. Any martial artist who trained in sword techniques would not be unfamiliar with this name. The Crypto Sword current that was still being passed down had always claimed that the founder of the Crypto Sword current was the Crypto Sword Saint. Everyone's heart palpitated. The sword of the Sword Saint, the saint treasure of the constellation, was definitely gold ranked. Thinking about the treasure sealed inside, how could they not be moved? Sai Lei was now a hen that could lay golden eggs. It was extremely precious. Tang Tian had already seen it. Sai Lei's mechanical weapons were selling well. In the future, to earn money, it seemed like he still had to rely on Sai Lei. Tang Tian was also in a dilemma. These fellows could not be kept. If he killed them, Tang Tian could not bring himself to do it. Crypto Sword Saint. Tang Tian's gaze suddenly landed on the lady in black and could not help but exclaim, "Hey, isn't this fellow the Onyx Soul Horse that we met last time? Alright, let us first talk about the news regarding the treasured sword." Bing was very experienced. This fellow's sly and wily qualities started to show. He was one of the most outstanding sword saints of that era. Xiaqing's ears immediately perked up. He only knew that they were the guardians of the sword, but no one knew what sword they were guarding. The Crypto Sword Saint kept a low profile. No one knew. When he was alive, he took in a disciple, and today's Crypto Sword current was passed down from this person. He had a son named Yuqing. The demon sealing sword was passed down to his son. His disciple coveted the sword and thought of ways to harm Yuqing. In the end, Yuqing only had his servant Xianxia Wu by his side. At this time, Yuqing was already heavily injured, and with no way out, Xianxia Wu brought the demon sealing sword and forcefully barged in, luring the enemy away. At that time, he would think of a way to kidnap Wu Guang. That way ordinary people would definitely not dare to cause trouble in the shop. Blind Cord Old Man sincerely asked Magic Flute for guidance on sound-type martial techniques. Crane stared blankly at Tang Tian. But this killing technique disappeared without a trace. Other than leaving behind the name, there were no other clues. So annoying. 1,000 Crane clones converging / Xiaqing raised his head and stared blankly at Tang Tian. What do we do with these fellows? Bing glanced at Blind Cord Old Man and asked Tang Tian. The sword in Crypto Sword Saint's hands was actually the demon sealing sword. Tang Tian did not care, looked at his own palms and muttered, "If only there was a small consumption of true power, easy to learn and powerful killing technique, that would be great." Demon King Blazing Firefly's true power consumption is also very large. True power is only enough for one type. So worrying. Chapter 231. Giant Baron Constellation's Saint Treasure. Sword Saints bestowed Saint Sword and countless of sealed treasures. When the lady in black said it out, everyone present could not help but hold their breaths, their hearts palpitating. All of them were Heaven's Road grade martial artists and had fought their way out. They were very clear any star treasures could possibly incite a massacre. Disguise. The lady in black trembled, clenching her teeth. She took off her mask. The lady in black took a deep breath. She felt that she had seen through their strategy. Acting so well. She sneered in her heart. She had seen so many sanctimonious people, but none of them could act so well. The lady in black relaxed. 5,000 kilograms of Corvus gold sounded like a lot, but in truth it was not that big. Tang Tian's silver Aquarius cabinet was effective, and swept it all in. Seeing the mountain of Corvus gold, Tang Tian felt as though he was looking at a mountain of star coins. No cultivator could resist the temptation of secret treasures of stars. The lady in black looked at them in a daze. What were they thinking? At night, Xiaqing found Tang Tian. His eyes were red. Obviously he had gone through an intense mental struggle. And for such a treasure, if it was spread out, it would definitely cause a huge uproar. Countless martial artists would flock over. Even if they were to lose their lives, they would not hesitate. Upon thinking about 2.5 billion, Tang Tian felt as though he was injected with chicken blood and became excited. Uncle Wu, Crane and Xiaqing followed their original plan to purchase Corvus gold from various trading companies. The three of them were all hit in their weak spots. Mechanical martial artist? Wu Guang was surprised. Brother Tang's request is very unorthodox. These days there are very few powerful mechanical martial artists, but coincidentally I know one, and he is not from the group. But Brother Tang, the fighting power of a mechanical martial artist is very limited. Although my brother's standard is not bad, but you know the standard of mechanical weapons, so he is not very successful. But his standard is very strong and many people in the group have fought with him before. Must be like that. Belle's face was filled with joy. She used both her hands to receive the crystal tube. I happen to have a business proposal. I wonder if Brother Wu would be interested? Tang Tian said, "My friend has opened a shop in the Seoul region and needs a few experts to hold the fort. As for the price, It's 500,000 star coins a month. Blind Elder will also be guarding the shop. Tang Tian waved his hand. So, I feel that if we were to rely on ourselves, it would be very difficult to rush to Southern Cross Constellation. We know too little about Heaven's Road, and we need someone who knows how to gather information. Tang Tian swept through Corvus Constellation like a swarm of locusts. With 2 sound-type martial artists, it made them look like they were doing it with ease. Stone gravel beasts had very low resistance against sound-type martial techniques. Even the stone gravel beast king was no exception. Ling Su was like a cat whose tail had been stepped on. He flew into a rage and pointed his spear at Tang Tian. Bastard! Do you want to fight? Come on. Fight to the death. Since she was still of use to him, his own safety was not a problem. Tang Tian couldn't help but be curious. She became even more vigilant. These people were so scheming, that meant her own situation was even more dangerous. No one asked what blood it was. Blind Cord Old Man had already told them about Belle's sister being sick. Follow the original plan. Go go go. Tang Tian nodded his head in admiration and said seriously, actually your main point is to say that you are a hero. Bing's lazy voice came out from Sky Tiger. Alright, you can take off your mask. That way he could become stronger even faster, reach the Southern Cross Constellation even faster and find Qianhui even faster. Wu Guang laughed. Little brother Tang, in the future if there's any business, you must take care of me. Don't worry, your big brother Wu has a good reputation, and will definitely make you satisfied. That's right. Ling Su suddenly took a step forward, his expression was high, his white robe fluttering in the wind. Justice. A hero should be like that. Don't talk about other things to be able to persevere for so many generations, the Xia family is amazing. He laughed foolishly and started counting with his fingers, thinking of how many gold spirit cards he could buy, how many star rocks he could buy and how many treasures he could buy. Facing the weak stone gravel beasts, sound martial techniques were like harvesting their lives. Pai Pa did not run away from the martial spirit contract, so she did not struggle with this problem. She was clear if she did not agree she would definitely be killed. After the battle, everyone started to meditate and recover their true power, while the villagers of Xia village were cleaning up the battlefield and picking out pieces of Corvus gold. Killing each other until there was not a single living thing left standing. Such a scene caused people's hair to stand. Although they did not understand why Tang Tian wanted to exterminate the stone gravel beasts, but since it was the employer's request, everyone naturally did their best. Bing coughed lightly and said, "All right, what's your name?" Tang Tian clenched his fists tightly. Xiaqing's eyes turned red. 5 days later, Crane and Xiaqing returned to the Xia Sword village. They brought back roughly 2,000 kilograms of Corvus gold. After signing the martial spirit contract, everyone relaxed as the martial spirit contract could not be violated. If it was another person, everyone would definitely think that he had some ulterior motives. But Tang Tian's angular and slightly childish face, that matter-of-fact tone, caused everyone to not doubt the sincerity of his words. Bang bang bang, he raised the broken blade in his hand and patted his chest, releasing a burst of metal striking sound. He proudly said, "Brother Tang, don't worry, we are professional swordsmen. Since Brother Tang is loyal, we will definitely not be despicable. I would rely on the word loyalty." Brother Tang put down the words, "Whoever has bad intentions will be going against us, will be going against our money. Oh no, will be going against our blades." The lady in black trembled, tightly pursing her lips. Everyone was speechless, all of them were hit by Tang Tian's words. Tang Tian's gaze turned to Crane. Belle hesitated for a while and said, "That drop of blood." Tang Tian scratched his head and thought for a while. "I feel that we need a guide. We don't know the way. Even with the star map it seems like we can easily run into problems." "He looks as if..." Bing commented and then asked, "What do we do? Kill her?" "The young lady has many thoughts. Leaving her alive will be troublesome. Kill her." The Corvus King gold was obtained from the stone gravel beast king. Its color was darker, its texture was harder, its surface was covered with gold stars. It was extremely beautiful. It was the first time the Xia family villagers saw the Corvus King gold, and all of them were amazed. The two of them moved smoothly. Although Corvus gold was one of the few specialties of Corvus Constellation, but the buyers were all fixed and the price was very cheap. Corvus gold had a long history of trading, but in the eyes of the people, It was still a type of natural metal that was slightly better than normal metals. The results of the battle were remarkable. The entire Corvus constellation seemed to have been combed by them. Tang Tian laughed as he pushed away Ling Su's silver spear, and turned to look at Wu Guang. Uncle Wu, what do you think? So when there were people who urgently needed large amounts of Corvus gold, and offered a price that was 15% higher than usual, it immediately made the small businesses extremely excited and sold all of their stocks in one go. Blind Cord Old Man took out a transparent crystal tube, and in the transparent crystal tube, floated a drop of blood. The bright red blood mixed with a bit of gold light, looked extremely mysterious. Please Big Brother Wu. Tang Tian thanked him. Bing was immediately embarrassed. Ling Su tactfully kept quiet and Crane also did not say a word. They were definitely faking it, letting the Xia family relax their guard and then taking the chance to take action. Friend, what type of martial artist? Tang Tian's heart moved. Mechanical martial artist is the best. A beautiful and elegant face appeared in front of everyone. Her skin was a healthy wheat color, her eyes were lively with a sense of alertness, a head full of short hair. With the martial artist's attire, she looked extremely capable and experienced. 4 hours later, all of the Corvus gold had been picked, and the results were similar to what Tang Tian had expected, roughly 5,000 kilograms of Corvus gold. Other than that, there were 20 pieces of Corvus King gold. Hearing that, Tang Tian nodded his head without hesitation. It's him. At the end, Wu Guang was like a ferocious beast released from its cage, his fierce killing intent suddenly spreading out in all directions. Wu Guang shook his head. I have a wild personality and am not suitable to stay in one place for long, but among the brothers I know, there will definitely be some who are interested. What type of martial artist does Brother Tang need? The lady in black hesitated for a while and said, Bell. No one would have thought that Tang Tian would say such a thing. It was unusually quiet, causing Tang Tian to scratch his head. Why are all of you looking at me like that? Am I wrong? The so-called friends, isn't it to help each other in times of danger, and to respect each other's beliefs and ideals? Xiaqing could not describe his thoughts at the moment, he could only stare blankly at Tang Tian. Tang Tian's face was as bright as the sun, his gaze and expression were not fake at all. Wu Guang and the rest had completed their mission, received the star coin card and bade farewell. And because of that, the impact of those words was so intense. Adding the 3,000 kilograms of Corvus gold that Tang Tian and the rest had obtained, the total amount of Corvus gold was 10,000 kilograms. The total value was as high as 5 billion. Crane was calm. As an employee, I have to follow my employer's wishes. It is my professional ethics. Wu Guang's expression froze after a while. He then forced a smile. You and I are still young, just call me Big Brother Wu, we are separate people. Brother Tang is a person worth associating with. My brother is not very good at conducting himself. Please forgive him, Brother Tang. Wu Guang sighed. Holding on to the star coin card, Wu Guang and the rest could not contain their joy. Earning 5 million star coins in 5 days, such a good thing was not something that happened often. And the 5-day journey to everyone was simply like a field trip. Other than the first day when everyone was nervous, for the other days, it was mostly magic flute and blind cord old man fighting. Alright, I'll leave him a message. Wu Guang said straightforwardly. He seems to be very free recently. The power of sound-type martial techniques was displayed to its fullest. You're tuning in to the Zhou Xian's Legacy YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.